Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Rugby World Cup. This one's Scotland versus Tonga, going head to head as a part of Pool B. Now, looking through at the way that the table sits for this pool currently, as you can see, after that game last night between the Irish side and the Springboks, Ireland sitting at the top, so they will more than likely be facing up against New Zealand when it does go through to those quarterfinals. Of course, a little bit of ground to be made up by New Zealand here before getting back into that top two. South Africa, they will more than likely be facing the French, who at the moment do not have Dupont. But this game, it's very important for Scotland as well as Tonga. Neither side are completely out of this Rugby World Cup as of yet, but it would take a massive, monumental effort to be able to get into that top two from here, and it would include a winning bonus point throughout this game, although there is a chance that this game is a little bit closer than some anticipate. Now that the Tongans have a game under their belt, they've seen what they did wrong up against the Irish, they're looking to improve. The coach talked about ill discipline. I feel like Scotland in their game up against the Springboks, they just weren't quite as clinical as they would have liked to be, but if they take their chances here, I have a feeling we're going to get to see a very entertaining game. We will look at the chat very quickly. The problem is every back row needs a fetcher, carrier, and grafter, and both Sia Khaleesi and Peter Steptoe perform the exact same role. With no fetcher at 6, that's why South Africa struggled for the first 50 at the breakdown, says Chad the Cat, and I know that there will be a lot of talk about that game between the Springboks and the Irish. I think overall, for a test match feel, I've said it many times, but it did feel about as big of an occasion as we can have for a Rugby World Cup group stage match, and I'm hoping that that game later on tonight between Wales and Australia has a little bit of that same feel, because at the end of the day, those two sides both trying to get number one on that side of the draw. And yes, this game is for Scotland. May the brave win. This game, Tonga, discipline and no injuries on the bruises. And South Africa, says Goldberg there. Morning and evening all, says Mr. Skits. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. Hopefully everyone did sleep all right after that Springboks versus Ireland game. It was actually a relatively late night finish in the Northern Hemisphere, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, hopefully everyone's well rested and ready for two more games of rugby. Looking through at the starting lineup for Scotland, they have made a few changes from what we did see in that game up against the South Africans, but overall sticking to a relatively similar side. Rory Sutherland at number 1, George Turner at 2, and Xander Fagerson will be slotting in as the number 3. He has recently returned from his suspension that kept him out for the start of the Rugby World Cup. Richie Gray at 4, and Scott Cummings and number 5, Jamie Ritchie, the captain, as the number 6. Rory Darge at 7. And then number 8, Jack Dempsey. Now, I want to see a little bit more from him in this game. I feel like this is his perfect opportunity to go head-to-head with some of the players that he has gone up against in the past, whether that's Super Rugby or whether that is just through international duty. Ben White at number 9 with Finn Russell at number 10. I feel like this is going to be his playground throughout this 80 minutes, and he's got to try and work out how he can get the most out of the men on his outside, whether that's cross kicks, whether that's cut-out passes. Finn Russell, when he gets it right, can be extremely dangerous, and that is exactly why Tonga will look to shut him down as soon as possible. Sione Tuipulotu at number 12, good power from him usually. Chris Harris on the outside at number 13. Duan van der Merwe, nowhere near enough of that man was seen throughout the Springboks game, so I'm sure he'll be searching more for the ball here if he can, getting off his wing when necessary and trying to get as much possession as physically possible. Kyle Steyn out on the right wing, so that is rather than Darcy Graham, who was very close to scoring himself a try in that game up against South Africa. And Blair Kinghorn, he will be at number 15 to close out this Scottish starting lineup for the Tongans. It is going to be Sage Fisi Ahoy at number 1, Paula Nyaumo at number 2, and then Ben Tamefuna, the big man, at 3. He was quite fired up in the last game up against the Irish. He was going head-to-head with a tough Irish scrum. Scrums in this one's going to be intriguing, because I know that for Scotland in their first game up against South Africa, in the second half, that seemed to be when they were more effective at scrum time, although I still feel like they'd have that little bit of an edge at scrum time in this first half as well. So perhaps some penalties just around the corner. Leva Fafita at number 4, and Sam Lausi as the 5, Halafainua at number 6, and then at Sione Havili Talatui slotting in as the 7, Via Fafita at 8, although it did look like after the way that he was playing last week with an injury, maybe he was going to be missing this game, but he seems to be all right, managed to still score himself a try even though he was limping all around the field. So hopefully will be all right to continue here. Augustine Pulu at number 9, so once again going ahead of Sonatane Takalua for this match, which is a bit of an interesting choice for the Tongans, I'll be honest, because they have stuck with Takalua through maybe about their last maybe 3 or 4 games before the start of the Rugby World Cup, and then to go into your first match of a World Cup and completely switch it, that's always going to cause a little bit of time needed to try and get it back to what it was. William Havili at number 10, Peter Aki in the midfield alongside Malakai Fekatoa on his outside at 13, Taumapo out on the left wing, Solomoni Kata out on the right, so those two have actually had the straight switch from what they did have in their first game up against Ireland, and Charles Piatau at 15. He was destroying Hugo Keenan's ankles in that opening contest because every time there was the one-on-one, Piatau would step round him, and that's what he'll be hoping to do here up against Blair Kinghorn. But that is whether or not the Scottish defence do allow him that one-on-one opportunity, or if he is instead being relatively shut down. In the chat we have got, I'm hoping Scotland perform to their potential. If they do, they should win fairly comfortably in my opinion, says Akaris. And also rooting for Scotland, says Shanna there, and good luck Scotland from Ireland, says Penny Lane. And also smash the like, says Chad the Cat. Yeah, anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm rooting for Scotland against the Irish and a big score against Romania. Just imagine South Africa not leaving the group, says Chronic Underachiever. It would be a massive shock, although at this stage, for it to happen, I believe Scotland, I mean, I've shown the poll, we will show it again, but there is a lot that still needs to be done for the Scottish. Of course, a big start to that would be getting themselves a victory here. Their points differential is the thing that concerns me because South Africa, their last game is going to be up against Tonga. And more than likely, I don't want to say anything too soon, but I would assume that they'll end up getting the 5 points from there. So Scotland in all 3 of their last games, including the one up against Ireland, will have to win it with a bonus point to have a chance of overtaking the Springboks. Now, Ireland only have 1 game left, so theoretically, the Irish could also be the side that get dropped a little bit further out because they haven't received that bonus point, but it is very tricky to know exactly who is going to be going through, or if there was the big upset, who is going to be the side that misses out. But either way, could end up coming down to the wire for these groups. Just while we're at it, we might as well show Pool C. At the moment, the Welsh are sitting at the top of the bunch, 10 points from their 2 games. They have played so far Fiji as well as their game up against the Australians just around the corner, but they did have Portugal in their opening round. That group is probably going to be one of the closest. Looking at England, they are safe in Pool D, but these 3 sides all going to be playing next week to try and get that little bit further up, including Samoa versus Japan. That will be the opening game for Pool D. Chat we have got there, come on, Scotland and back in Tonga, says Peter, and who was the Ramphilly Shield? Or who is the Ramphilly Shield? I know that Wellington had a defence against North Harbour, but I believe Wellington won it, if I'm not wrong. So they have kept it in their hands for just that little bit longer. Up the mighty AB, says Trajan. And Tongans looking to smash bin. What Scotland did in 1991 was subvent expectations. And then number 15, Big Gavin Hastings, straight at the Samoans, off short balls, close to the ruck, says Chad the Cat. And Morena Hamish, mate ma'a Tonga. I hope Tonga has more discipline and upset the Scots, says Sione. And that is what the coach did talk about in his interview. He said we need to try and have a little bit more discipline than we had last week. We did throw away a few easier tries near the end of the game. And he said that if they can cut that out of the Tongan game, they'll be a lot closer. And of course, it was their first warm-up game of the Rugby World Cup. In fact, their first game of the Rugby World Cup. Waikato gave a thrashing, says Peter Wild, and yet Wellington won. And cool thanks, mate, says Mr. T's, and New Zealand versus France final, says Trajan. There's a lot of work to do from here for both of those sides to be able to get through to that final, of course. But that's the beauty of that side of the Rugby World Cup draw, is it's unpredictable. It only takes one good performance in a quarterfinal, and then all of a sudden you get yourself that little bit closer to being able to lift the trophy. South Africa will still win the World Cup. Despite the loss in South Africa, they call for Mani Libok, or the call for Mani Libok, which is totally unnecessary, says Morne Lagrange. And Morne, you've already wrote the same. I don't care. Rats about South Africa, says Penny Lane. Also, we get the hi, says Mary. Welcome in. Hope you are doing extremely well. Looking through at the reserves for this game. It is going to be Scotland side of Ewan Ashman, Pierce Scorman, and WP Now. I believe that is where they're going to find a lot of success later on in this contest. Sam Skinner and Matt Fagerson, the other 2 forward replacements, are going with the 5-3 split for the Scottish. George Horn, Hugh Jones, and also Darcy Graham, the man who did start in the match up against the South Africans, will now be coming off the bench for Tonga. It is Sam Molly, also Kalamatangi and Salisi Apakatoa. No, Sosefo Apakatoa, my apologies. Adam Coleman getting his first chance for the Tongans there in number 19 in the World Cup. Paia at number 20 and Vailanu at 21. So once again going with the 6-2 split here for the Tongans, just like they did in the game up against the Irish. Takalua, the replacement, 21. Or sorry, normally would be 21, but 22 in this case. And Pellegrini at number 23. I'm still a little bit concerned about the starting of Augustine Pulu. I feel like he's a tremendous player, but it's just confusing that they went with Takalua all the way up. So they were building chemistry with Takalua to then say in the World Cup, we're going to have you finish the match rather than start it. Because Takalua can give you a full 75, 80 minutes if he needs to. I think that having him start this game may have been a very good idea. But that's not writing off Augustine Pulu, of course. I feel he will still be able to do relatively decently. Just whether or not that a little bit of extra experience for Takalua could work in the Tongan favour. Looking at the Scottish previous results, they have 4 games in the Rugby World Cup warm-ups. One against Italy, which they did win, 25 points to 13. They had a thrilling 2-match series up against the French, which, to be honest, right up to the final whistle, we had no idea what way both of those games were going to be going. They beat Georgia 33 points to 6, keeping them tryless in that match. And then 18 points to 3, the Springboks getting themselves the first victory of their Rugby World Cup campaign. That is the only game Scotland have played so far, so they have actually still got another 2 games after this, whereas some of the other sides do only have the one for Tonga. They had their games of the Pacific Nations Cup, a close one up against the Japanese, 21 points to 16. They were beaten quite comfortably by the Samoans, had 2 good wins over Canada. But then saying that, I feel like they would have liked someone just a little bit of a higher caliber of opposition to really test them going into those Rugby World Cup games. And that first game up against the Irish, 59 points to 16. The chat we have got there as well, Chiefs 10 should be in the ABs, says Peter Wild. And also, hello again, Mary People says happy. So who's the current Chiefs 10? Are we talking Damien McKenzie, Peter Wild, or are we talking a different fella? Bryn Gatland, is it? Maybe. And England will shock many people, says Jay. And also, hello, Amish Bro, says Michelle. Welcome in. You are doing very well. Darcy to get mashed up by the Tongans. Piesh coming to start out on the wing versus Ireland, says Chad the Cat. And yes, I'd start Takalua, and I'm with Tonga tonight. And also, we have got there, hoping for some tries from Scotland. And yes, England has already done, says Penny Lane. And you're right, the best game in history. Ireland was the best, says Stull. And Scotland to win by 20 points. And what is your prediction, Hamish? Says Morley Lagrange. I think my prediction, I think it was something like 24 points to 13. So I didn't actually go hugely high here. But then saying that, I thought that we may have seen a little bit of a different Tongan side take to the field than they did go with. So I'd say maybe a little bit more in favour of Scotland now. Wounded Springbok here. Let's see if my second team Scotland can give me something to smile about, says Dylan Simpson. And there, I'm sure that they'll want to play that fast-paced game of rugby. The good news, Dylan, I feel like I'm trying to find a positive in terms of, because you did say how you played those games on Rugby 20, and I think you said it was 2 Springboks wins and 1 draw. So the good news is, new rugby game coming out just before the Six Nations. Supposed to have a lot of licensing of all the teams, so perhaps, yeah, it will be a hopefully good rugby game that you can play on the PS, I think you said the 3, but you may need PS4 for that one, but that is something just around the corner. We will actually have some videos coming out on the channel when that new game comes out as well. G'day, Hamish. It's time for my 145th game this year, says Ian Foster. And also New Zealand will meet France in the semis. They pass the quarters, so they can't be France versus AB's final, I think, says Stone Cold. Although I think it can be the final, because the 2 in quarterfinals, 1 and 2, I think it's the way that the pool's set up, you verse someone who wins in pool C or D for their quarterfinal game. So I think it is possible, but it's a little bit further down the line, of course. Do you think Australia make it through to the next round, says Mr. Tees? I think we will know that answer in around maybe 5.5 hours, but I don't think they'll go too badly against Wales. I like what they've done with Donaldson, putting him at fly half, having Andrew Callaway at 15, I feel was a very good play from the Australians, just because they put so much pressure on Carter Gordon, yet he's just still a young, inexperienced player. So I would have loved to see him maybe get a few opportunities off the bench and then you chuck him in the deep end. We have got there, Howdy says Bebop Williams. Welcome in, mate. Go Scotland, says Lionel. And also we have got there, what is your prediction, Hamish, says Sportsman? I would say I'll go Scotland by 15 in this match, but there is a chance that because they know they need bonus point after bonus point after bonus point, that they really chase this game, try and fire up beyond belief. I'm about to sneeze. One moment, ladies and gents. We are good. Hay fever. Gotta love it. Scotland by 25, says Dylan Simpson there. And I'm wrong again, says Stone Cold. And also, then they play the other side of the draw in the semi-final, says Chad the Cat. And Ireland, South Africa, and Tonga. Could Scotland be in the worst group, says Cal Mac. What against Wales, Australia, or Fiji, says Akaris there. And Mary Hello, says Dole. And Hamish, do you prefer the breakdown or the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, says Ian Foster? Can I be completely honest, Ian? I don't actually get a chance to watch either of them, which sounds really bad because I try and do a lot of rugby research, but lately with like my sleep schedule as well as working during the week alongside doing the live streams and the videos during the night, I get like no spare time whatsoever. It's going to be quite nice today though, because if the weather's good, after the Wales versus Australia live stream, we're also going to be filming the Rugby Recap podcast. So that will be an extra about an hour or so. Then after that, we are filming another video. And then after that, I think I get to go golfing for a little bit. Hamish, do you have a tiny bit of white powder on your nose? Says Chad the Cat. Well, I think that would be rather unfortunate. I don't think I've been sniffing sugar or anything along those lines. And come on, Tonga. What an underdog story today. Says it was there from Paul and Tonga by 1. Also going right down to the eye, bless you, says Jacqueline. Just after you went off camera and didn't sneeze. Says Chad, well, you see, I muted myself. So I clicked this button. Yeah, you can't hear me when I mute. Just because I don't want everyone to have to listen to me going, achoo. What's your stroke, says Ian Foster? It's pretty poor at the moment. I've only just got back into my golf. I think I'm off about a 25 handicap or something like that, but I've only put in 3 rounds since about 2017. So there's improvement to be made. I'm getting a few pars at the moment, which I'm quite happy about. Got a couple birdies the other week. And right on, Hamish. All great crack last evening. I won again, says Kyoto Wick. Well, I mean, of course you all want to know that result, but I have got all the results so far throughout this round, ladies and gentlemen. Great segue indeed. Italy versus Uruguay, the first game of the round, 38 points to 17 in favour of the Italians. So they currently sit with 2 bonus points. They are sitting on the 10 at the moment from their group stage matches. But they have got a big game around the corner up against the All Blacks, and then another game just after that up against the French, who did win their last game 96 points to 0, although in that contest they did lose Antoine Dupont to a facial injury. That's a weird way of wording it. He broke his face, didn't he, on the cheekbone, I believe it was, fractured cheekbone. But Argentina, they are winning their game up against the Samoans, 19 points to 10. So a very good performance there from Los Pumas, although still a lot to work on, to be honest, before they get too much further throughout this competition. Georgia and Portugal couldn't split the two sides, 18 points to 18. England won their game up against Chile, 71 points to 0. So 2 of the games so far we have seen this week have been 2-0 score. And then Ireland in that game last night up against the Springboks, winning at 13 points to 8. A last-minute thriller and a test match with a big match feel. And now both those sides, if they end up in a final up against each other, I think everyone will be pretty entertained to see what happens with them next. Geordie, Will, Damo and Bodie are all pretty choice golfers. I'm a bit of a scratch golfer myself, says Ian Foster. Are you into wines at all? New Zealand has some good Sauv Blanc, says Dylan. I haven't actually got into wine, to be honest. I know that it sounds weird, but ever since I was younger, I always thought of wine as just like non-fizzy juice. So like, I mean, I haven't even tried wine, to be fair, so maybe I would like it, but, you know, I don't know all the techniques of how you, like, you know, you swirl it and then you sniff it, don't you? And I feel like at that stage I'd just be like, just let me drink it, please. I'm thirsty. And greetings, Hamish chat. Really impressed with the amount of work you're putting into the World Cup, and congrats on 268k views on the Ireland vs South Africa video yesterday. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. The amount of people we had popping in on that live stream was just incredible. And You know, I mean, at the start of this Rugby World Cup, we didn't really have a goal. We still don't really have a goal. Our main goal is to not end up with a false copyright strike because we've had a few of those throughout our time on YouTube. But we just want to be able to cover all the games, have you guys here in the chat, build up our, I guess, rugby community because it's a pretty awesome one. And do you think, or who do you think will win the World Cup based on current form, says Paul? Well, I mean, it's hard to deny a side at the moment who's on a 16-match winning streak. So I'd probably say Ireland, a very good shot. France, not looking too bad. Springboks, they've done it before, so they can still do it again. But I believe it will be someone on that side of the draw. Pool A or Pool B. But currently the Scottish national anthem is playing. You need a good Salvin Blanc. I can't even say it, so I probably wouldn't be able to order it without them thinking I'm on drugs. I think Pumas didn't have a good game. A lot of mistakes, says Mikhail, yeah. But the big thing for them was they still managed to get over the line. And hello, from away at Cape Town, says Vitamin Green. And also it's Juice That Kicks, says Dylan there. And also wine is rotten grapes with rotten feet added. I don't think everyone stomps the grapes. Isn't that cranberry juice? No, what's the one that they stomp in America that they just, they do that. And then that lady was doing it on the news and fell off the platform. It's a shame that that's the video I've seen of it rather than one of someone actually doing it properly. I wouldn't make too much of the point not featuring for France. Luku is brilliant and a team doesn't revolve around one man. That's what I've been saying. Everyone has been writing off France now because of no Dupont, but I still think they're going to be in with a very good shot of going far in this Rugby World Cup. We have got there Hamish with the other Kiwi lads, so there is myself. Then the next most, I guess, watched Kiwi lad in terms of how many times you guys have seen him would be George. He's been in a few of the older school videos and also the one that's recommended on the channel with me, him, and Daniel. You would have seen George in there. That is actually one of the only of 2 videos, or 3 maybe, that we've had of Daniel. So he's been on the channel hardly any. And then Isaac, one of the other Kiwi lads as well. He's been on the channel a little bit and also has done a little bit of the music side of things for us behind the scenes as well. Will the game be broadcast on here, says Alan? Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio gets taken straight off YouTube, but depending on whereabouts you are in the world will depend on your watching options for this game between these two sides. The best bet is to go on the Rugby World Cup website. There's a tab called Where to Watch, and then from there you'll be able to see exactly where you can watch it depending on whereabouts you are in the world. We have got there, I think England could shock and get to the semis, shocking team, but the gameplay seemed to work for them, says Paul. And the big thing for them is they've been winning games as well, and that is the main thing at this stage of the competition. They've won 3 games from 3. At times, they haven't looked flash while doing it, but it's still a win. It's still those points on the board. A lot of sides at this stage in the group stage after 3 rounds would love to have 3 wins under their belt, and there are only 2 other sides that have been able to do so. But the Scottish and the Tongan national anthems have been sung, ladies and gentlemen. Quickly looking through at the starting lineups once more before kickoff. Rory Sutherland at number 1, Turner at 2, and Fagerson at number 3. Richie Gray and Scott Cummings will be the lock-in duo. Jamie Ritchie, Rory Darge, and Jack Dempsey in the loose forward trio. Ben White and Finn Russell as the 9-10. Sione Tuipulotu and Chris Harris in the midfield combo. And Duan van der Merwe, a man who I feel we need to see a lot more of than we did in the game up against the Springboks. He will be out on the left wing. Kyle Steyn out on the right. Blair Kinghorn at number 15 there for the Tongans. Looking to fire back from that Irish loss. Fisia Hoy, Naumu at number 2. And Ben Tamefuna, the big man who looks like he is just about to lead the Samoan of the Tongan pre-match. Rituals, Leva Fafita at number 4, Lausi at 5, Halo Whanua at number 6 with Sione Havili Talatui, the Crusaders open side flanker at number 7. Vai Fafita, the man who scored a try last week up against the Irish, will be playing number 8 for this game. Augustine Pulu and William Havili as the 9-10 combo. Piraki and Malakai Fikatoa in the midfield. Taumapo, Solomonikata switching from what wing they were on for the last game, and Charles Piatel. Now, earlier on, before this match, I heard someone say that they felt that Charles Piatel could be still considered as one of the best players in world rugby, and after the way that he played last week up against the Irish, I don't think too many people would be denying it. Fired up before the kickoff here. Come on, Tonga, says him there. And also we have got there, gosh, you must be getting sick of repeatedly telling people you aren't streaming the game, says Ian Foster. I mean, I'm not really sick of it, mainly because I know that we have got quite a few new people coming into live streams throughout the time, so unfortunately they haven't heard about where they can watch it. And I feel like that's bad on World Rugby's part, the fact that people don't know whereabouts they can actually watch the games depending on whereabouts they are in the world. I feel like that should be one thing that is heavily, I guess, broadcast and also told to people where they can watch these games, because at the end of the day, you want eyes on rugby, and a World Cup's the best way of being able to do that. Up and Go should sponsor you, Hamish. Of all the early mornings you've been commentating Sessione. The thing is, that would actually work quite perfectly. I drunk an Up and Go, I'd say maybe 30 minutes ago, somewhere around there. I had to get in contact with them. That's sanitarium, isn't it? But yeah, I had an Up and Go. I guess they keep me up and going for the streams. I was thinking if the question is, are you streaming the game? Says Mo, and also kia ora Kiwi lads. Well, sorry, says kia ora Hamish. Hungover from the South Africa Irish fixture. Fiji is getting better, says Stone Cold. And also greetings from Cape Town, says Buffalo. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing extremely well. Do let me know your score predictions for this game, ladies and gentlemen, as we are right before the kickoff now. Feel like Tonga will try and keep in this game relatively early, but Scotland's pressure eventually may start to wear down on them. But we have seen upsets already in this Rugby World Cup. Could we see another one here? Good afternoon, nearly good evening from Johannesburg, South Africa. Come on, Tonga, says Andre G. And also, does New Zealand fancy their chances against Ireland in the quarter, says Morne Lagrange. I'll be honest, I don't think New Zealand at this stage of current form would say that they fancy their chances up against most teams. But the thing is, everyone for the All Blacks is expecting that big performance round the corner. And if it was in the quarterfinals, I mean, it would be a massive upset. I've seen New Zealand coming into that game up against Ireland as heavy underdogs. But it's just a weird one, isn't it? Because their previous record is what's going to put them through as possible favourites going into that game, even though the Irish won that series in New Zealand. It's going to be intriguing, that is for sure. Carl Dixon in charge of this game, ladies and gents. We are now ready to go. William Havili will be kicking off from left to right in this game of the Rugby World Cup as once more underway. We are almost halfway through the competition. I believe this is going to be game number 23 out of the 48 that we have got coming up, but it is taken inside of the 22 by Scotland. Ben White now rolling it back to go for the clearing kick inside of his own 22. It was touched by Tonga. The ball comes back infield, just add a little bit more. William Billy manages to clean that up, gives it off to Salesi Piatal at the back, tries to bend off Duan van der Merwe and gets through the tackle attempt. I'll give him a lot of confidence early on in this game. Currently 45 metres out from their own line here, Tonga. Augustine Pulu fires that across to Halawhainua. And it looks like now they are going to be sending this one up high as well. Yeah, you might be correct, but Ireland have every chance to beat New Zealand. We have some very smart coaches, says DPG. Going to be kicked high, slap back there by Solomoni Kata. Knock on advantage against the Scottish. Ben Tamefuna now drives up to 40 metres out from the Scottish try line. Going to the short side, here comes Sione Havili Talatui. Now Pulu. Back across again. This time Sam Lausi driven slightly backwards. They do have to release him. I think that was actually... Who was that? It wasn't Rory Darge. I think it was actually Jamie Ritchie who is getting over there now. Finn Russell. Off to Blair Kinghorn. He's got plenty of pace chasing after this one. It hits the post. Oh, he's knocked it on though, I believe. There's a knock on, I believe, for Kinghorn. He booted it way down the field. Just chased after it. It seemed like it should have been nicely cleaned up by a Tongan fullback, but the Tongan fullback was nowhere to be seen. And now they have to go upstairs to check whether or not it's a knock-on from Kinghorn. He says, nah, I haven't got it. Although that's the thing. If a player's going, no, I haven't scored it, I would have thought that they'd just go straight to the scrum. He's swearing as well. So, yep, they aren't going to check upstairs, I believe. They've decided that they don't need to. What happened, mate, says Ian Foster. So it was the big boot down the middle of the field from Blair Kinghorn. It was about a metre short of the line, or maybe half a metre, in fact, and then knocked it on for Blair Kinghorn. And regarding the Ireland-South Africa game, I can honestly say it was there. What an atmosphere it was, says Geza. Yeah, it sounded like both sides had huge support in France for that game. It had that really big main event feel for a test match, which I think is exactly what everyone wanted to see for that game. Like, at the end of the day, the fact that it was close, it meant a lot more, I think, rather than it being like one side winning by 15 points or one side winning by 10, because it was right down to the wire. It just felt like either side had a chance. And I was thinking about it as well. That's exactly what you want when number one versus number two. You don't want a massive gap between the top two sides in the world. You want to have it so that every time they play, they could go out and play tomorrow. Could be a different result. The day after that, different result. That is the beauty of a game of rugby. Is it a try coming Tonga? Let's get an upset. Says Brian. So no try in that case for the Scottish. Tonga now with the 5 metre line out, just out from their own line. A ball has been fed in by Augustine Pulu via Fafita, goes off the back. Gives it off to Pulu, who will clear it downfield off his right boot. And a very nice kick. I believe that smacked a man in the side of the head who was not quite watching the ball. South Africa fans all went home together in one Uber. The stadium was full of Irish, says DPG. No, there was a few South African supporters in there. I saw quite a bit of green and gold. And Scotland win by 10 to 15 points. New Zealand and France final was on. There's a lot to the AB's apparent loss of form. Or there's a lot more than meets the eye holding back. Just maybe New Zealanders will be hoping so, says Stephen. That's going to be now the penalty going the way of Tonga. That is going to be for Scotland being offside. Wait, no, red offside, they've said. So it's actually going to be a Scottish penalty in that case. And around 20k South Africans, says Geza. And South Africans try was a forward pass, and Ireland left a lot of points. They're also by kicking for the corners. South Africans also need to find a kicker, says DPG. You see, that's the thing. It could have been a whole different story. A few more of those kicks were going over. That last rolling maul, if they had got that ball out just a little bit quicker, it could have been... That's the beauty of it, though, I think, as well, is the fact that it could have gone either way at any moment in that game. And I think both sides, they would have learnt a lot. And yeah, it was a big Azuba. Yeah, it would have had to be a massive Boeing. Is it called a Boeing? That doesn't even hold enough people. And also, we have got their whatever they lost. And also, we have got their try Scottish. Says Dean, I think you're a little bit ahead of us, so be sure not to spoil too much of the action. They're still going with the rolling maul on the 22 for myself. And they will be rolling forward quite nicely here. It's going to be at the back for George Turner, and he does get that try. But yeah, we already know about it, unfortunately. We have got the other Boeing 247 and definitely need Pollard fit and informed, says Chris there. And entire South Africa woke up this morning with a massive headache. We drank our sorrows away, says Jacqueline. And South Africa need Andre Pollard back, says Fook in there as well. But the first try of the match goes to George Turner in this Rugby World Cup game. Didn't take too long at all as well for the Scottish, so that will give them a lot of confidence moving forward. Yo, Hamish, it's your boy Knowledge again. Changed to my real name, says Michael. So welcome back. You haven't changed to your real profile picture. I see that it is still KSI. There on What on Earth, says Ian Foster. Yeah, just running forward. And guys, trying not to spoil, please, says Gez. And also try Scotland, says Shanna. And there's all. And Ireland, to me, showed the world that they are the real deal. Not perfect. I'm not saying they will win it. But they are showing we aren't there as a fluke, says DPG. And luckily, the Irish best game at the moment. South Africa goes Scotland, says Goldberg. And try Scotland, says Scrumless. I said that with a lot of, like, what was it? What's it called when you, like, go, at the end of the sentence? But not like a jump scare. Now, Finn Russell gets that kick over as well, so that will now make the score 7-0. Which stadium is that in the background behind you? This is the Stade de France. I've gone with that pretty much throughout the whole of the Rugby World Cup. I just think it looks like a nice stadium, even though it's empty. But, you know, I think it just looks nice. So I've gone with it the whole way through. We got there the game yesterday, turned into Ireland's side once. Then Sheehan came on and Suka. Sheehan start the next games and a line-out will tighten up, says DPG. Although, to be fair, like after those first about 5 line-outs went a bit shaky, they did improve from there. And then from there, Ronan Kelleher had about 6 or so that he got right. So, you know, he had a rough start, of course, but once they started taking a bit more time and I guess knowing that the Springboks were going to contest, they started to find their gaps so that they could hit their line-out properly. Finn Russell inside of the 22 puts the boot up high. Running onto this one was Willie Harvili, who did not run onto it too nicely at all, but Tama Poe manages to clean that one up. Tackled by Chris Harris in the midfield. Now Tonga again. Oh, Jamie Ritchie almost gets himself penalised again, but it is going back for the initial knock-on from the Scottish, and Tonga will win this one, says Brandon. And also we have got their well-said true words. So losers lack manliness. A man never whines, they just get up and go again, says Kennewick. And also we have got there, will Scotland go ahead of South Africa if they win, says Connor. They will not, no. So Scotland are yet to get themselves a point in this Rugby World Cup. But if Scotland get themselves 3 bonus point wins, their first game up against Tonga, we will show their next 2 games as well. Their next game up against Romania, I feel like that should have a bonus point involved for them. But then it's that game up against Scotland that will be the big decider, up against the Irish for Scotland. If they can somehow walk away from that game with 4 or more tries and a win, then there's a chance that they could either overtake the Irish or they could overtake South Africa. But it is a very rare chance. But they need to make sure that first of all they get past Tonga and then they get past the Romanians before they can even think about that game up against the Irish. Still a long way to go in this Rugby World Cup. I have Tonga winning today, but I have Scotland winning the World Cup, says Brandon. Although if Tonga win today, Scotland cannot qualify for the next stage in this Rugby World Cup. That's going to be going back another penalty. Thank goodness we have next weekend off, says Geza. And also, hey, you look casual today. Where is the tie, says Leon. I decided to go with the hoodie today. It's currently 1 degree Celsius here in New Zealand. So it seemed like a good idea to be a little bit warmer than, I guess, dressed to impress today. The referee shouldn't blow the whistle. Shouldn't blow that final whistle. Rona got that ball out and Ikale missed 5 of 6 lineouts. Also knocked on. I mean, all he had to do was pick the ball up, fall over line for a try, says DPG, and Tonga penalty, says Dean Lynch. It is indeed. It looks like it will be William Havili who's lining up. This one, South Africa overhyped since they crushed ABs. ABs laying low since that defeat. My guess is ABs will play better than the pundits think, says Agor. And Ireland will have a recession after this World Cup, as we will be transferred all the money to save and saving to France, says DPG. Willie Havili does play 10 for Moana Pacifica. Also has had a few opportunities in the Bunnings NPC before. ABs can beat Ireland. Just need to get angry. And I was saying, South Africa missed their penalty, says Dean. So once again, you are still ahead of us. So if you don't mind, just wait a little bit longer to let us know what's happening so it doesn't spoil the action for everyone. Then saying that, Tonga with William Havili from 40 out. He has got that one over. So that will now make the score 7 points to 3. Still in favour of Scotland, but those are some early Tongan points that I'm sure they will be very happy to get. All Blacks, I know I read that one. And also we have got there, never rated Bundy as high before this World Cup. He's been brilliant, says DPG. And I just realised I'm 8 minutes ahead of Hamish, or ahead of Hamish's stream. I stopped talking, so no more spoilers, says Brian. Wait, 8 minutes ahead? What is Sky Sport doing here in New Zealand? We are currently 10 minutes through in the contest, ladies and gents. They did seem to start a little bit later. I think that was because they decided to show a few more ads for food beforehand. But now it's slapped back by Tonga, well picked up there by Sam Lausi. Now Pulu going across to the left-hand side. Willie Havili cut out pass. Goes to Malakai Feketau. Risky offload there. It's looking scrappy at the back from the Tongans, but they will go back for the initial penalty. We have Kadir Hamish just fell out of his bed, grabbed a hoodie off the floor and stuck the video on. Says DPG. Not quite. I had to do a little bit more beforehand. I've been on some weird hours though. I think I ended up going to bed at about 7:30 p.m. Waking up at about maybe 2 a.m. or somewhere around there, getting everything ready for the streams. It depends on who the ref is. If New Zealand, then Tonga winning as the ref has a bias, says Charles. Well, he's not a New Zealand referee. It's Carl Dixon of England for this match. We have Gadea knocked that backwards, says Scott. Bystanders being brutal in there as well. And Namibia will win the World Cup, says Brandon. Now, if you feel heavily strongly about that, they are 10,000 to 1 underdogs at the moment, which means if you put $1 on them, you get $10,000 back. Now, normally an underdog is about $3, so that tells you that there's still a chance. Some great players on both sides yesterday. Very few players would have been rated lower than a 6. Says DPG. To be honest, I think for the Springboks, the only relatively low-rated player in terms of overall would actually be their number 6, which was Khaleesi. Unfortunately, just didn't quite have the game he was after. There was a lot of physicality. Hamish always has time to sort out his hair. That is not true. Luckily, it sits like this, but if it didn't, it was going to get chopped off a couple of days ago when I was at the barber. But then saying that, I didn't actually get a haircut at the barber. I was there because me and George we had to travel for 30 minutes for him to get a haircut, and then we went for lunch. And Tonga will have a big fallback, but I'll win in the scrums convincingly, says Just. Make a run for from Duan van der Merwe. Currently on the halfway line here, White goes across to Finn Russell, cut out past to Chris Harris, who steps in off his right boot. Now Lausey to make the tackle there, but Scotland, when the space starts opening up with their backline, that is when they can be most dangerous. Rory Sullivan decides to charge straight at Halaleva Whanua, or Tangi Noa Hala Whanua, I should say. You can become a millionaire betting on Tonga to win the World Cup. A 50-second delay behind Hamish. I just paused Hamish for the commentary on the spot, says Eric. Now nice run from Harris off to Kinghorn. Passes out wide to Kyle Steyn, who steps inwards again, but the ball is popped out the back and Salesi Piatal now has got it back for Tonga. They thought about the kicking option, then the man realised he was a forward. So gets it across now to Peter Aki. Gets a good chunk of that one, and the ball will roll into touch about 25 metres out from the Scottish line. We have got there, is there a bit of hair loss receding? Probably, but at the end of the day, we can't help it, can we? Not without any sort of other outsider help. An eye from Scotsman in Thailand. I need this win and bonus point. Then a great result against the Irish. Well done. And also we have got there, I think Khaleesi is now suffering from that ACL operation he was rushed back from. He will not have played much at all in 5 months as DPG, although going into this game, he was actually in some pretty decent form, I felt. So I think it was just the handling, unfortunately, he was dropping it. But too often all refs must first be accepted by the competing teams, says Charles, and they did for that last game, if you're referring to that one. Both teams agreed that Ben O'Keefe would be a decent option. In fact, I heard it from both sets of fans before. It's okay, I'm shaving my head next week. Just have up okay the hair, says Paul. And that's also what hats are for, isn't it? Oh, Duan van der Merwe has been bumped off by Solomoni Kata. Looked like he had chewing gum or something in his mouth, or that was a tooth that went flying. Now dropped down on his head for Via Fafita, but going off to the left-hand side. Here come the Tongans. We knew this would be a physical outing when these two sides go head-to-head. Finding the offload was Peter Aki, getting it up to Suani Havile Talatui. Now Pulu, a lot of pressure on him, and the counter-ruck from the Scottish. The blue ball, they say. And it's going to be Scotland's ones now. How many South African-born players in Scotland's side, says Andre. At this stage, I have been asked that many times and I still don't honestly know. But they're playing for Scotland, so that's their team. We have to get over it. Now it's going to be knocked on there. And we were talking about South African foreign-born players the other day, and we actually had quite a list forming from, who was it back in the day? Percy Montgomery. Brilliant player back in the day who wasn't actually born in South Africa. That is now going to be a 50-22 for Finn Russell. We have got there, there's no way the ref New Zealand was accepted by South Africa, says Charles. It was. And in fact, a lot of people were saying before the game that the fact that it was a the fact that it was a New Zealand ref benefited South Africa because he's a Southern Hemisphere ref rather than a Northern Hemisphere ref. So the general consensus was that South Africa should have that narrow advantage in the refereeing department. What is Pietal doing? Says Ian Foster. Now it's going to be thrown in there. Andrew Murdens, native boy, says Malcolm. Yeah, so like there's a lot of players that you can look at and go, this guy's from somewhere. The Beast, he was from Zimbabwe. And great kick, says Calmac. Yeah, very good kick indeed. Now stepping around the side, Ben White. Trying to snipe the line. Nice work in the breakdown though from Augustine Pulu. Turned over and now booted down the park again. Where are the AB in the world, or where are the ABs in the World Cup? They are in Pool A, alongside France, Italy, Namibia, and Uruguay. And Malcolm Marks played. Box would have won, no doubt, says Stone Cold. And Namibia was part of South Africa, Southwest Africa. Says, was there from Goldberg, and also Malcolm Marks played. Box would have won. Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? This is the second time PRTL has been in no man's land. And also Jean Klein. Of the current South African team is Irish. Has 6 or 7 caps to Ireland before moving to play for the South Africans, says DPG. Yeah, Pietal, he's putting his hands up at the moment. He has been caught slightly away from where he should be a couple times in this match so far, but we'll see how he goes later on. They are going to put it high again. Rest must come from lower level teams when refinancing for the higher levels. That eliminates bias, says Charles. But then the slight problem there is if you have an inexperienced referee, I've seen this for the Sevens circuit. If you have an inexperienced referee from a lower ranked side, then if they have a bad game, everyone says, why don't you get a decent referee, or why don't you get a referee with more experience to referee the game? Because that actually happened in one of the finals of the Sevens, or I think it was a semi-final. They had a referee who had only refereed maybe about 10 games rather than the 150 that some of the main officials had, and everyone blew up because of the fact that he didn't have the same experience as the others and he had a slightly shaky game. So it goes both ways, unfortunately. The thing that everyone wants to see in the refereeing side of things is consistency, but sadly we haven't got that yet in the world of rugby. And cheers, bro, for commentating, says Mr. West, no worries at all. Now going off to the right-hand side, Finn Russell goes to Rory Darsh. Only 7 points to 3. Oh, awkward one for Tamapo, but he's managed to regather quite nicely. Now kicks it down towards the Scottish 22. Blair Kinghorn takes it above his head. Looks to step, beautifully done. Sold as if he was going towards the wing, then came straight back inwards, although now he's run straight into, I think it was Paula Nyaumu, and the ball has been knocked on by Scotland. Scrum feed. For the Tongas, they had an ACL injury. It took 9 months to heal, which is standard. So he has taken a huge gamble. Says Kroik there. And also we have got there Percy Montgomery, was born in Namibia. Says Ruandre. And also we have got there, at the time, Walvis Bay was Republic of South Africa. And the ANC gave it to Namibia. Says Andre G. And also we have got there Bobby Skinstad was also born in Zimbabwe. Says Morne Lagrange, and coming from Cayman Rugby Peeps. I think I remember the Box having a Rhodesian captain. Then back in the day, says Gernovic, and Tonga doing well. Says yeah, they're staying in this game, which is important for them because if they can match that physicality of Scotland early, which I think they certainly have. We've seen some big hits coming in earlier on in this match. And like they've said, they just need more possession. They didn't have a lot of it up against the Irish. Currently, possession is 52% in favour of Scotland, so Tonga not actually doing too bad in that possession department. These Scottish lads have never felt the might of the big Tongan shoulder. Says the impossible. Well, as long as the Tongan shoulder is also followed by an arm wrap, that will be important because we don't want to see any cards throughout the early stages for either of these sides in this match. We've got there in the chat as well. Did I miss some? I think I did miss some. I think George Ford, I thank George Ford for his single-handed demolition of Argentina, says Brian. And also remember that Southwest Africa, Namibia, and Rhodesia was part of the Currie Cup system and qualified for the Springbok team, says Andre G. I guess that's one way to put it, says Ruandre in there as well. I love hay fever. Even though there shouldn't be hay fever at the moment, I still end up sneezing a lot. Now, breaking off the back of the scrum, 50 metres out from the try line now, William Arvelli, great cut-out pass away to Solomon Ikate. He's a dangerous man when he gets going, and he's bumped off Duan Vandermerwe for the second time. I think Duan's realised he's going to have his hands very full throughout this matchup. 7. It's gone through the middle. Rory Darsh, the captain, has been penalised. Piatau breaks through, finds the offload to Solomoni Kata, and the Tongans score the first try of their game. Well, it's not quite the first try of the match, but it's the first try for the Tongans. I should say, I got a bit excited. That was a brilliant offload from Charles Piatau. And also the beat Zimbabwe, Seth Trajan. And also Van der Merwe getting a taste of Tongan beef. Yeah, Kata's going to be a problem on that side. And I think that it was a smart switch from the Tongans. Last week it was Solomon Kata at number 11. This week they switched him over to number 14. And Blair Kinghorn as well as Duan Van der Merwe. Yeah, Van der Merwe, he was lured it off the wing to tackle Charles Piatau. And Kata gets the try. I've never loved the All Blacks more, says Cool Story Bro. And also we have got there, my name is Hamish, says Marius. I assume that's in Afrikaans though, maybe. Also, Etzebeth was born in the jungle, where the beasts are born, says Stone Cold. And also try for Tonga, says Scrumless. But that is now going to give them a lead in this matchup, ladies and gentlemen. After the 20 minutes, 7 points for Scotland, 8 to Tonga, and a kick to come now. Tonga are playing very well, says Brian. They are. It's just whether or not they can keep up this tempo for the full 80 minutes, because I know that Scotland They are normally praised for their gas tank and the way they're able to finish games. We saw that in the match up against Georgia, in which they were, I believe, 6-0 down, and then they came back to win it 33 points to 6. But that kick has gone over from William Havili, and now the score sits 10 points to 7 in favour of Ikale Tahi. We have got there Tonga 10, Scotland 7. If anyone is interested, France beat Serbia 78 points to 10. And the Rugby League game that was earlier today, says Richard, I know that there's quite a bit of Rugby League coming up in October. We're actually hoping to cover some of it on the channel. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Well done, Tonga, says Kate and Luciano. Now kicking down towards the Tongan 22. Nicely taken by Solomoni Kata, the try scorer. It is called as a tackle from Sione Tuipulotu. Justin Pulu back across now to Sam Lausey. This will be setting up quite nicely for a clearing kick if they do want to here, Tonga, although they will be starting to feel a little bit of confidence that perhaps they should be running the ball just that little bit more here, seeing as the gaps are starting to open up. Now Pulu puts it high, down towards the halfway line. Blair Kinghorn able to take that one nicely. Now gets it off to Jack Dempsey, and he does play in the URC competition. That is coming back in only a few weeks' time as well, ladies and gents. We've got Hamish, who holds the record for the most drop kicks in a Rugby World Cup match. It was the most in this World Cup so far. In this World Cup, it is George Ford with the most drop kicks. The most in one match, I believe, was a South African back in about 1990-something. And I think it was about 4 or 5, wasn't it? In one game. In fact, it might have been 6 in one game. Now, Kyle Steyn going off to the right-hand side. Ben White, short pop pass up. Sutherland breaking the line. It's a good run from a prop as well, showing some real pace. Kyle Steyn. In fact, it's Finn Russell this time, giving it up to Xander Fagerson. Ben Tamefuna almost had the turnover. Ben White couldn't quite get that ball out of the breakdown, was asking for the penalty. Didn't realise it was his own team's foot that was keeping it in there. I think we are the only Kiwis awake watching this, says Right and High. Although I know quite a few Kiwis are going to be getting up to watch that Australia versus Wales game that has taken place at 8 a.m. That one should be a very entertaining game as well. Finn Russell now goes off to Chris Harris. Van der Merwe joins the breakdown to protect the ball for Scotland. And this is now 10 phases in a row. I believe the most that Scotland have had throughout this match, and now with the 10th they decide to kick it away from Finn Russell, looking for the cross kick. Kyle Steyn doesn't quite take it cleanly, and he's been absolutely battered there in the tackle. Tamapo now driving up to 40 metres out. Sione Tuipulotu asks for another maul to be called. Awai was even lifted, says Samuel. I was a little bit confused at that one because I'm used to calling sevens as well, and in sevens, as soon as you lift a leg at a rolling ball, even if it's one, that becomes a penalty. So I was slightly confused. Apparently, though, you are allowed to do that in union. If a player's in a rolling ball, you're allowed to pick them up off the ground. We don't see it very often, and I assume that's because of the extra weight that you could end up having on you if, like, another player was to jump on. New Zealand ref and the South Africa game conveniently didn't see the line-out errors and the high tackles, which begs the question, when a player like Cheslin Colby, who complained to the ref, wasn't referred to the TMO, says Charles. See, I don't think you can blame it on the New Zealand ref, though, in that case. Like, you can blame it on the inconsistencies of refereeing, but I have a feeling that if there was another referee in that exact same position, they probably would have seen maybe 5 of the penalties or so, maybe, that Ben O'Keefe didn't, but they wouldn't have given 5 of the penalties that Ben O'Keefe did. And that's the slight problem we've got in the world of rugby at the moment, is the fact that one referee will see things one way, another referee will see it in another, and then it's just, yeah, it's the big problem at the moment on the rugby side of things. It's like how we saw the soft yellow card in that last game. And was the ref being called out to the players to be careful, or called out to the players to be careful when everyone was in the air, so he wanted to make sure that he wasn't landed in a dangerous manner. I want to see the day that a woman refs a World Cup game, says Red Hell. I mean, they've done it in the sevens. I feel like sevens is always that little step ahead than union, it does seem to be. So it could be one day. I'd assume maybe Holly Adamson. No, it's not Adamson. Holly Davison, is it? The Scottish women's referee might get a chance at some stage if they did go down that route. I could have asked for the linesman to intervene, says Charles. Although I think the thing was no, it wasn't Matthew Carley, was it? Who was the one on the near side? I know that there was another Kiwi, and then there was one other from somewhere else. Nice wide pass there, using their backline, Scotland, and Duan van der Merwe has the easy run-in try out there on the wing. The gap was the size, I was going to say, of South Africa, but it has gone through very nicely for Duan van der Merwe. And Scotland looking too far ahead. Got to beat Tonga first. Says cool story, bro. And referees must get yellow cards for making mistakes. Says Samuel. And also, how about the fact that South Africa consistently infringed 1 metre gap in the line out? Swings and roundabout, Southern Hemisphere, West losers. Sees Yvonne there. And also, we have got there in South Africa. There's a thing about Van der Merwe jokes. There's Albert. And also, who made that defensive error by the looks of it was Solomon Ikata, a long way off his wing. And Piatal did cut inwards. But to be fair to Piatal, he had 2 men that he was covering. So you could argue maybe because Solomon Ikata was so far inwards that it left a gap on the outside. But Duan van der Merwe scores it. That is the second try of the match for Scotland, I should mention. So that now means that if they get 2 more, they will walk away from this game with at least 1 point in this contest. I'm about to sneeze again. One moment. We are better. And also we get the Solomon Ikata defensive error and 2 more tries. And get the cigars and lube out. Where are you sticking the cigars, water sports fans? But I guess at least you're using lube. That's the main thing, isn't it? Van der Merwe with the try goes Scotland, says Galmac. And also all the lineouts were straight over their men, not down the middle. And South Africa did, they were penalised, says Charles. But yeah, once again, like, if it was a different referee, we may have seen some go a different way, but then others may not have been called. It's the refereeing as a whole, not individual referees, I think, that we need to look at. Because, like, referees get enough slack as it is. But, yeah, I think we look at the laws of rugby. That's somewhere that would be a decent way to look at. Because it seems like the referees aren't allowed to use their common sense. Because the law book is so, like, written down that you have to make sure you're right. Is there mitigation? Is there this, head contact? Everything along those lines for certain challenges. Like that game, we didn't see any yellow or red cards, which I think was a massive bonus. Because if there was, you can imagine the uproar that would have taken place. We have got there, Hamish, where did you sleep last night? Says Goldberg. I slept in my bed. That's where I normally sleep. Sometimes I just lie on the floor if it's fun. No, I don't do that. That's the ref bias I'm talking about. It's so very convenient, says Charles there. But then what I'm talking about is the fact that depending on whereabouts you are in the world, like, I don't think it's biased though. That's the thing. I don't think it's biased towards teams. I think it's just a case of referees will interpret the laws differently. I think that's the difference. Some people see it as bias, but it's actually the fact that depending on what competition you referee, depending on, I guess, how you referee the game of rugby, it doesn't need to come down to biasness. It needs to be looked at as how you interpret the law of rugby rather than the other side of things. Welsh Rugby, or Welsh Nigel, sets a good standard for referees or the gold standard for referees in my humble opinion, says Stephen. And even throughout his career, he was criticised for some of the decisions he made. So it's one of those scenarios that, like, if a great referee like Nigel Owens can still have games where people are like he's on one person's side or anything like that, New Zealand refs never want South Africa to win. That's not necessarily true. We've seen quite a few games that New Zealand referees have reffed in the past and South Africa have won comfortably. But, I mean, if it helps you feel better, I guess go for it. Paint that picture in your mind. But I think you'll find that it's nothing to do with where the ref's from in terms of the decision-making when they're out on the field. With all the cameras around, refs cannot afford to be biased, says Hillary. Exactly right. Like, you just can't get away with it because that's a nice run from Kyle Stade. He's through again. That kind of came out of nowhere. They were just attacking on the 22, just chilling, and then straight through. We have got there Red Howell. I'm not that bad, my friend, says Trajan. Whereabouts is Red Howell? And also Halsey, Halsey. Trajan, white flag, no arguing with you today, Says Red Hell. But now Kyle Staney will get the third try there. South Africa won those games, notwithstanding the ref, says Charles. But once again, if you want to use that as your way of saying that South Africa didn't lose that game, I know that, to be honest, we've had it before. People, even in a flawless game from a referee, have still had to do that so that they feel better about the loss. You go for it, but just don't spread the false narrative that the referees are all, sucking someone off for a little bit more money. How it happened to the USA, I thought they were getting better. They are, to a certain extent. They just, unfortunately, missed out on their qualification games. Irish didn't play well. We just could not get our kicks over, says Albert. And also we have got there, O'Keefe would have called the way he did it unless it was real. O'Keefe is world-class. South African supporters who won are not a Springboks standard. Springboks are men. They make no excuses, says Kerno Wick. We have got there, as a Springbok fan, I can say without tinted glasses, the best team on the night one. The Irish breakdown play was immense, says Craig. And South Africa lost. We played a weaker game than normal. No kicks for the line-out drive, says Malcolm. See, that's the kind of stuff that I like seeing. Straight away going, we just didn't play our best, but there's always next game. And that's the thing. No one's knocked out of the World Cup from that game. Both sides are still going to be making their way through. South Africa, they did lose to New Zealand in 2019 in the World Cup. They went on to win the thing. So one loss on your record for a World Cup does not mean a huge amount as long as you back it up with improvement from that game. I go Scotland. Here from PH, says Charlene, welcome in. You are doing very well, but currently Tonga, they are sitting on the 22-metre line. Now, counter-ruck from Scotland. That is somewhere that they've tried to get that little bit of an edge, a bit of extra oomph in the breakdown. Ireland is going to underestimate Scotland and lose, says Albert. And also, have you noticed how the refs turn a blind eye against the favoured teams? Rugby is corrupt. Our Welsh-born ref going to be allowed to ref for Wales versus Fiji game, says the New Age. Now Pulu going off to the right-hand side via Fafita. Good low tackle made on him by Rory Sutherland. Now Fekitoa. It's going to be knocked on. Big run forward from George Turner. He's already got himself the try. And Irish played a good game, so everyone messed up on the kicks. But I believe the ref being in his position can determine who's going to win, says Charles. Although I saw someone make a comment about it as well. It was in reference to boxing. I know boxing's not a good sport to reference when it comes to refereeing and whatnot, because we know with the judges' side of things it's relatively rough at times. But, that's a big shot from Tamapo. That looked a little bit high. But yeah, the comment was, in boxing, if you want to take the referee or you want to take the judges out of it, you knock the opposition out. So I know that it's a bit of a weird analogy, but in rugby, if you want to take the ref out of it, don't give them anything that they could possibly penalise you for. But then there will always be some penalties, so you just got to make sure that outside of those penalties that you are giving, you're just doing that little bit more to help yourself over the line. Tamapo, I think, is going to the bin here, because he has tried to go for the knockout on the Scottish player. So can Springboks in All Blacks quarterfinal, which one has the edge? Although with that win yesterday, it actually means that more than likely, that's high from Tamapo. Richie was ducking. He's coming up. That's probably going to be a yellow, if not a red, here for Tamapo. And this is probably the perfect example of Tonga's discipline once again letting them down in a game that they were right in at this point. Yellow card. And it's going to be now reviewed with bad tackle. And we have got there Tamapo and Mapasua, Mapimpi Talia. What do all these wingers have in common, Hamish? Well, I'm not sure about Mapasua, but the other three are bald. Might be what you're referencing, Ian Foster. And Scotland win, says Hervey. Okay, the player is carrying the ball up. Okay, Ben Tamefuna having a bit of a chat to the referee there. Yeah, Tamapo going to be off the field now. I keep on saying words with almost an accent today, and I don't know why. And will the boys in green be against France or New Zealand, Italy in the first round? It looks like they will be taking on the French in the quarterfinals now. No cards in the islands. South Africans game. Funny how the best teams know how to tackle properly, says DPG. And yeah, I think it's a lot of credit to the two sides with the fact that they were disciplined in that department of the game. We've got Fob accent, says Mr. West, but now nicely taken by Scott Cummings. 22 metres out for the line and a man advantage here for Scotland. If they score one more try, they will walk away with the bonus point in this game already. And we are still in the first half. Now 15 metres out. Breaking off the back there, I believe it was once again George Turner. Finn Russell tries to find the offload. Runs out of space there though. Tried to pass, then taken into touch by Red. So I believe, actually it was a forward pass from Finn Russell. So it will now be a scrum feed for the Tongans. It's a bit of a weird pass, wasn't it, from Finn Russell? He kind of had it in the hand like it was... The best way of describing it is, you know how sloths kind of have that bent wrist? And he kind of had the ball in the sloth position to then flick it off. But they do call it as forward. This is classic. To Tai Kefu coach teams, All Blacks. No defensive structures, just trying to put big shoulders in, says Ian Foster. And also, where's the rugby guru today, says Bruce. Is he not live? I think he's done every game so far, hasn't he, Johan? Hopefully he's all right. One moment. He's got... Wait. Okay, he hasn't got this game, but he's back for Wales versus Australia. So hopefully he's all good. I've had the call from, says Phil Bow, the robot, I should say. Oh, you want me just to call you Phil, don't you? And bad game for the Bok. They need a Pollard back and maybe Kitsoff can keep, he's got at many positions. Says Roof. I've had the call from Rassi, he needs me to kick for them. Well, hopefully you got your boots on. You're ready to go. Just know that if you miss about 2 kicks, everyone will want you to leave South Africa. You know, my brother from another mother, Dig Your Style, says, Ash, thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciate you being here. Currently, Tonga 10 metres out from their try line. 4 minutes remaining in this half as well. So still time for them to try and make the most of the man disadvantage of their own side. And the reason I say that is because Scotland know well and truly that just because you have one less men or one less man on the field does not mean you can't score tries. We saw it late in the game up against the French in their warm-up games. Going to be put high from Augustin Pulu. Does go into touch. Now another chance for Scotland at the line-out. We've got Ireland can sit back and hope Scotland get a bit beaten up here, says DPG. And also, this is the Polar Deaf, yes, the new age, says Ian Foster. So I should mention that their Ireland-Scotland game, it is going to be taking place in 2 weeks. Next week, Scotland have got themselves another matchup up against the Romanians, which they will need to try and get a comfortable win as well. Now, Ben White slings it across to Sione Tuipulotu. Finn Russell, pop pass up to Duan van der Merwe. Loses his footing because of that tackle, and it's actually a brilliant one from Malakai Fekatoa to then tackle him again. Loose ball picked up by Piatau. Now after Solomoni Kata, who bumps off Chris Harris, but is dragged down in the end by, it was Kyle Steyn. Piatau chucks the ball infield, hits the Scottish player, but they say it was already in touch. We have got their refs have been great on the Rugby World Cup so far, except maybe Wales Fiji, but on a whole, no dramas, I feel, says Red. And also Ben Tamefuna walking moves, says Ian Foster. Thoughts on Clark, starting at 13, Ioane on the wing and Bowden Barrett at 15, bad idea, says Chronic. I feel like there's something at the moment for the ABs that they need that isn't there currently, if that makes sense. And I feel like in that game up against the Italians, I'm wondering whether or not Bowden Barrett off the bench is a good idea, just to see if, you know, he can have that same impact that he used to when he's got that free-flowing game later on in the contest rather than at the start. Now Finn Russell, cut-out pass to Chris Harris, goes to Kinghorn. Showed off his pace earlier on in the game when he was almost able to score the opening try of the contest now. Kicked him on from Ben White, looking for the 50-22. Found an acre of space there. And for Tonga, they will just keep this one in the field of play with Charles Piatau, who now will get driven into touch anyway. And Scotland have got themselves the line-out opportunity. And look at the score, Island 1 in the story. Will not change the score, says Gordon. And also, Tamefuna's tired, says the new agent. To be fair, this game has been played at a frantic pace throughout this first half. But Piatau has had to cover a lot of ground at the back. I'm wondering whether or not someone else is also supposed to be back there, because he's got the whole 22 that he was covering by himself. So whether or not they need to drop William Havili back as well, have one of them on each side of the field, just to have a bit more chance of cutting off that 50-22, because that is something that Scotland look like they are going to be using quite a bit here. Sione Tuipalotu dragged down 2 metres out from the line by William Havili. Now Ben White slinging pass off to Xander Fagerson. A tackle on him by Pulu once more, but now going to the right. Ben Russell slinging pass out to Chris Harris, who's going to be held up and driven backwards in the tackle. Tonga do have to let that ball come out, and they have not, so it will be the penalty advantage now against Tonga, 5 metres out from their line. And speaking of 5, here comes Scott Cummings, the Scottish number 5 for this game. Now Russell slinging pass. Another offside advantage against the Tongans. Discipline is going to be the key for them in the second half. No look pass from Ben Russell. Short to Jack Dempsey, who keeps driving his legs. 1 metre now from the line here for Scotland. Ben White. Finn Russell was calling for it. Frustration on the face of Russell. He still wants this ball to the left-hand side because Ben White wanted to get himself the try. Duan van der Merwe reaches out. He's going to be short, and they'll go back for the penalty. But there was a bit of selfishness from Ben White. Rather than getting it out wide when he needed to, he tried to go for the glory himself. And now they go back for the penalty. Load shedding again in South Africa at 8 p.m. Until further notice how sad it is. Says it was Mr. Rudolph. And also, let's hope this Rassie tactic doesn't backfire. I'm not convinced, though. But that's the game of rugby, highly unpredictable, says Ruth. And also, where can I watch this match live? Depending on whereabouts you are in the world will depend on your options of being able to watch this game. But I do recommend checking out the Rugby World Cup website, because on there they have a where to watch tab, and you will be able to see exactly what options you have got to watch this game for today. And also for the rest of the World Cup, depending on the country that you are in. But I will mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are on the road now to 36,000 subscribers. It feels weird to say that. We hit 35 yesterday. Also, we are at 40 minutes. We've still got a couple more plays. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Let's see if we can get 13 more before the end of the first half. This will take us up to a nice round number. When the players collide, they literally ripple. Says Shana, there's some big boys out there on the park, that is for sure. And that is why in the second half, I believe that fatigue will start to set in a little bit more. My opinion, the ref struggled to manage the breakdowns for Box Island match. That last ruck just before he ended, game seemed legit, unless I missed something, says Sean Lees in there as well. Now 5 metre scrum from Scotland. They've got themselves another penalty advantage. Jack Dempsey tackled 5 metres out from the line by Pulu. Now off to the left-hand side again. Rory Darsh. He's got back up to his feet, I think, although it's going to be claimed as a try. They're saying he isn't held. That was an interesting one, but that will be the bonus point for Scotland if they don't go upstairs to check to see whether or not he was held. Happy Heritage Day. To all South Africans, enjoy public holiday tomorrow, says Chris. 5 metres out from the line. Rory Darsh, he decides to hit that ball up round the side of the breakdown. He was initially tackled, and then I think he gets back up in that case. The knee is down, which for me, if your knee's down and a player was holding you, you shouldn't be allowed to go again. They've taken the kick quickly, and the kick and the try will remain on. That will be halftime now, 24 points to 10. Let's go, Scotland. My money is on you, says Eve. And also we have got their Bok will improve, and hopefully so will Ireland, says DPG. And are you surprised by the Tongans? They're still trying to catch up, says Ruth. I mean, I was impressed with what Tonga were able to do on attack throughout that game so far. Solomon Kata looking very strong down the wing. In fact, he's probably had close to the most running metres, alongside maybe Duan van der Merwe in this game. This is almost definitely a Scottish try. I humble, accept the defeat, but I know Bok are capable of correcting their mistakes. Good luck, Bok, says Nosifo. And there as well. And that's the beauty of the Rugby World Cup. Because we are at this stage so early in the group stage. Both sides have a long journey ahead of them. There's a lot that can change. There's a lot that both teams can improve on. And who knows, if these two sides meet in the final, which is the next time that they could go head-to-head, I'm sure it will be an absolutely awesome one as well. Grab your drinks, grab your snacks, and also like and subscribe, people. Let's get the Kiwi Lads to the 40k mark. Says Red Hell, yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are currently only 11 away from that subscriber goal now by halftime. I mean, halftime not over yet, though. What was Fuff doing with the kicking? His hair was gorgeous, though, but his bootlaces weren't tied properly, says Ruth in there as well. And also, I think the referee botched that. The try scorer had his knee on the ground. The defender didn't really let go of his leg till the knee was on the ground. That should have been a Tonga penalty. I agree. I think that was one that definitely could have gone the way of the Tongans there. A knee on ground, no try, says Kernovik. And once again, that's what we've been talking about, the inconsistencies of the refereeing. Like, don't get me wrong, referee in charge of that one, Carl Dixon, it's unfortunate for him, but I don't think he can be the sole blame of that one. Like, he had a TMO with him that could have told him, hey, we need to have another look at that, or an assistant referee could have seen that that knee was down. I feel like the refereeing as a whole is the consistency. When is the All Blacks playing, says Mono Lagrange. The next game for the All Blacks is just around the corner. We'll go like this. There we go. These are the next games of the next round, ladies and gents. New Zealand will be playing Italy at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So that is the same time as what Ireland versus South Africa did kick off. In New Zealand, we've actually gone forward an hour on our clocks. So I believe we're now 12 hours exactly behind the UK. Something like that. What is the time in South Africa at the moment, ladies and gentlemen? Do let me know. Is it currently 6:36 or is it 5:30? I think it's 6:36, isn't it? Or is it actually 4:36? Do let me know. But yeah, a couple big games taking place next week. South Africa, Tonga, the last game that's happening of the round. Scotland, Romania, an important one there. And then also, I think the other big game that has taken place, probably, in fact, the two big games, Japan versus Samoa, and also Fiji versus Georgia, because that is a must-win for the Flying Fijians if they want to walk away the victory and the quarterfinal of this Rugby World Cup. And then also, for anyone who doesn't know, the last round of the Rugby World Cup, before we get to the quarterfinals, France play Italy, Wales are taking on the Georgians, England, Samoa, Ireland versus Scotland, the Six Nations rematch, Argentina, Japan, and Fiji, Portugal. There's actually quite a few big games taking place in that final round, because some of those games could actually determine who goes through in certain aspects of the other groups, which could be quite entertaining indeed. We have got there one moment. I'll go back. Lovely commentary from South Africa, says Marthinus. Thank you very much. Hugely appreciated. And Box have themselves to thank for losing. No kicker finished, says Brian. And also knee on the ground, no tries, says Kernovik. And also we have got there, anyone else here proud to have cauliflower ears? I sadly do not. Well, I guess sadly and not sadly. Don't have the cauliflower ears. Kiwi lads, how's it going? What a beautiful game last night, says Blues Nate. Welcome in, Nate. Hope you are doing very well. You're once again up in the middle of the night. I'm sure you're excited for that Aussie versus Wales game just around the corner. Hamish, for the next New Zealand rugby commentator. Let's go, says a Flander there. And 8 minutes was up before the try. What happens to the yellow card if the decision wasn't made on time, says Kurt. Now, that is a brilliant question, Kurt, because that is something we haven't actually experienced so far in this Rugby World Cup. I would assume at halftime the referee will now know whether or not that card is going to be upgraded, but yeah, I think they kind of forgot about it. To be honest, so it's 6:36 at the moment. Okay, I'll have to remember that now we are... Okay, so it's the 11 hours rather than 10 as well. And also it's 5:36 in Ireland. Yep, so we are now 12 hours directly behind the Northern Hemisphere. Or sorry, the UK. Ours ref don't TMO that. Another fail, says the New Age. And also Hamish and Sonny Bill Williams, the ultimate commentator combo, says Ian Foster. And also sweet sounds from Hamish, excellent commentary, enjoying here. And Wild Cake Down, says Ruth. And also in South Africa, they have beer for breakfast after that loss, says Jan. And up to South Canterbury, says Blues Nate. I haven't actually seen whether they won. I assume that they did. The stage, I'm hoping they have home finals so I can actually go to them. That would be quite cool. And Hamish, do you only dress formally for the big games? France versus New Zealand, Springboks versus Ireland, says Victor, a little bit. Normally, for the biggest matches of the round, we will end up putting on the suit, and then for the other matches, we do instead go a little bit more casual. But then saying that, it is also 1 degree Celsius here in New Zealand at the moment, so it's probably a bit cold for the suit. I'm pretty much rugged up in the hoodie and some nice warm pants. The All Blacks also ran nation in the Rugby World Cup, or in the Rugby World, says Neil. I mean, they're certainly not in their best form at the moment. It's going to be interesting when all the big players do go overseas next year, because then they won't be eligible for the All Blacks. So we could see quite a different looking AB side, but I feel like with the competitive nature and the development of the players in New Zealand, they're never quite out of those big games, if that makes sense. We have got there, what do you think will be the result of the game, mate? To be honest, I don't like Taumapo's chances of only getting a yellow card here, because the problem that we've got is it was a hard shot to the chin. There was a little bit of ducking for Scotland. That is the one thing that might save him in that game. 50-35, the final score, says Blues Nate. Yeah, so they're on a winning streak of the ages at the moment, South Canterbury. I've been to 2 of their games so far this year, but I'd like to go to a lot more. I'd say I was thinking of the perfect YouTube presenting team. 2 cents presenting, Hamish commentating, and Squidge analysing. Says Geza there. We have worked with 2 cents before. We haven't done anything with Squidge as of yet, but it would be kind of cool. Like, I feel like if there was ever... I know that people do like football charity matches and whatnot. I feel like if there was ever a rugby charity match, depending on where it was in the world as well, of course, would depend on who you could have. But I feel like if we had some sort of option of doing that, that would be quite cool. What's your 2 prediction to play in the final? From Get It in South Africa, I think that it could end up being a South Africa Ireland rematch. And that one's still recovering from the defeat last night, says Justin. And yeah, it's going to be one of those ones, though, that when you think about it, it's not all done and dusted. South Africa's still a very good chance of winning this World Cup. In fact, I believe they still come in as favourites on the New Zealand TAB. And UK ref Tonga is doomed, says Charles in there as well. I think it's just all refs at the moment, Charles. I know that there are certain refs that you might not like more, but I think it's just the refereeing in general at the moment is the problem, rather than the certain referees, if that makes sense. Who you got today between Wales and Aussie? Cheers from the USA, says James. I honestly feel like Australia, I've got to go into that game with nothing to lose. And I do like the fact that Callaway's at 15. I feel like he's been tremendous throughout 2023. Ben Donaldson going to be at 10. I feel like that is a smart choice just to get Carter Gordon out of the starting lineup and instead have him coming off the bench later on in the game. I honestly think the Aussies could sneak it. And it's a game that they have to, because or else then they are gone from this Rugby World Cup. We have got there, South African fans get a kicker and move on, says Mo. And there, and I'm curious to know whether they go with Pollard at 10 or 12 now. I think that is going to be the big question mark for the South African side. 2-12, Kiwi in the Northern Territory, says Flanders. And also we have got there, imagine if Australia lose, Eddie Jones could be sacked twice in a year, says Geza. Although I think that Australian rugby, I honestly think that they'd be silly to give up Eddie Jones. Because, yes, it's not going too well at the moment for them, but has any Australian coach lately been able to turn their player pool into something special? That sounds harsh, but the more that we talk about it and the more that I think about it, you know, you look at Dave Rennie, you look at some of the coaches before him, and even they weren't able to turn around this Aussie side. So I don't know whether or not it's going to be the caliber of coach that helps the Aussies, but more of the future that they've got to look at and go, how can we try and stop all of these great players going to rugby league as soon as they end up going to kindergarten, rather than popping over to Union, having a crack. Pollard's a big guy. He could go into it, could go in at 12. Says Geza, seriously though, how is it allowed for the England-born ref to ref a Wales game? He was terrible in the Fiji game, says the New Age. And one thing for sure, Eddie's post-match press conference is going to be fireworks regardless of the result. And that's the thing. He's actually bringing eyes to Australian rugby that otherwise some people wouldn't actually look at, if that makes sense. Like, how many people, show of hands, we don't actually have a way of showing hands, but we'll put yes or no. Do you watch Australia's post or pre-match press conferences more than you used to now that Eddie Jones is the head coach? Position to see Hamish dressed like Borat for the World Cup final. Tell you what, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible because you won't be able to see the bottom half of the mankini, isn't it, that he's got on. But it would be cold. It would be like, summer by then, though. No. Says Democracy, no, says Chris. And also we have got there in the chat, no, says Mr. T's. And the Aussies, are we the team to beat next Rugby World Cup, says Sean Lees. And Aussie never will, says Eric. And I like the a couple of deep purple songs, old school songs in there. I do, just rubbernecking though, can't afford or can't avoid a good train wreck, says rotating Cal there. And yes, says Kurt, yes, says Mr. Rudolph, no, says Tristan. So it seems to be honest, if we had asked that same question when Dave Rennie was doing the press conferences, it would have been a lot lower in terms of the people who actually do watch them. We have got, hang on, there was one from, there it is, Charles. What you're saying is that present the refs aren't being measured and hammered for poor reffing. I like that South Africa. Well, before you try and put the words in my mouth, Charles, I will say outside of that South Africa versus Irish game, it could be included in the overall refereeing picture of the World Cup, but not that game specifically. I should be a politician, shouldn't I? Just trying to avoid questions but giving my own answers in the way. But I think that referees aren't consistent. That's the main thing. And I don't think it's so much the referees, it's the law book as well. The fact that every law can be interpreted differently, and depending on what competition you referee around the world will depend on how you interpret said law. We've got, hi Hamish, when do you sleep? I assume it's late night. You must be tired from all the commentating, says Miro. So yeah, I managed to get sleep between 7:30 p.m. tonight and about 2 a.m. So I managed like 6 and a bit hours, I think, which is pretty decent for me. In fact, that's almost 7 hours. Australian rugby is done. They've been cancelled. Says Craig there. And yes, Eddie has a mouthful for journalists. Says Sean, and most successful teams are the ones who can best adapt to the ref. Nothing new there, says rotating Cal. Also, Eddie can build a young team and take them to the next World Cup, says Justin. And that's actually some of the reasoning behind his selection here. He said he's looking towards that 2027. He feels that Australia rugby isn't where it needs to be currently, and that is why he wants to try and turn it around by building the long game, building depth, rather than worrying about this competition just around the corner. But for the stats, in that first half, ladies and gentlemen, 59% possession in favour of Scotland. Also, we have still seen that yellow card of Tamapo, yet to know whether it is being upgraded or whether it is going to stay the same. Territory, 52% for the Scottish, and also defenders beaten. This is a big stat. 23 for Scotland, 6 for Tonga. But Tonga has still been able to score themselves that brilliant try. Old Solomoni Kata, here's a stat as well. Apparently, is that correct? No. Okay, the lineouts, it said 0 from 0 for both teams, but then it's got, I believe, 12 lineouts won by the Scottish so far, and actually that first try came off the rolling maul for Scotland. We've got Eddie not worried. He's got the Japan gig after tonight, says Craig, and the two needs to be more involved, especially when players complain, says Charles. And also you are being just too dashed politically correct, says Charles. The most successful teams, oh no, I read that one, didn't I? All Aussie rugby need to do is find more millions of dollars to give the NRL players. Just look at the success Ali has been, says Ian Foster. Yeah, because he was supposed to be going to Union in about 2025, wasn't he? Which, I mean, it's all well and good, but we're in 2023. There's still 2 years. I like the way you say Tonga, says Joe D. And come on, Tonga, beat the Highlanders, says Abe there. That was the TMO that showed more involved, says it was there from Charles. And no, we need a team like the 2015 ABs. And unfortunately, next year, they are not going to have that due to players going overseas and then becoming ineligible to play for the All Blacks. I think me and George actually talked about this. We almost did a podcast without doing a podcast. Like, we didn't film it. We just chatted about like the eligibility rules and everything like that while we were driving up the road before he was getting his haircut. But yeah, we probably talked for a good 30 minutes or so just about eligibility and what the All Blacks need to do in terms of trying to fix what is happening. Same with Aussie Rugby. We had quite an in-depth chat about that. But Scotland, currently, they are sitting with a bonus point in their pocket, calling over the referee. Uh-oh, he's reaching to his pocket. I believe Tamapo, or no. Did he get the card out? Not yet. Okay, it's going to remain as a yellow card. The thing that saved Tamapo is the fact that the player ducked. That is the only thing that stopped him from getting the red card, because they said it was a high degree of danger with the way that he came in, who scored for the Scots Hamish, says Sione. So far we've seen the tries from George Turner. Also we have seen Duan van der Merwe, Kyle Stain and Rory Darge all score the tries throughout the half. And then Solomoni Kata was the man who did score the try for the Tongans. But the second half just about to get underway. Can you show the game? Sadly, due to licensing, if we show any match footage or audio, we get taken straight off YouTube. But on the Rugby World Cup website, they will have the options of where to watch depending on where you are in the world. Nicely taken inside of the 22 by Tonga. They are down by 14. They will have to make quite a bit of ground up here to be able to get back into the contest. Wales win 28 points to 26. Says Andre, and All Blacks to win the World Cup and keep everyone quiet for 4 years. Says cool story, bro. Can't wait for the next game, says Norm. It's going to be a great one. The Aussies need redemption. The Welsh, to secure their spot in the quarterfinals, they need a win. And then from there, they won't be knocked out beforehand. Now, nice backline movement here for the Scottish. King on wide, cut out pass. It was flat, but it did go backwards out of their hands. Chris Harris finds the offload up again to Kinghorn. Now going to the left-hand side, Scott Cummings. And I should mention they are still with a man advantage here, Scotland. Sione Tuipolotu. We haven't seen too much of him running with the ball other than off the set piece. And he has made about 15 metres there, running on the diagonal. Ben White back across now to the right-hand side. Nice sling and pass from Finn Russell. Goes to Rory. In fact, it's going to be, it was Rory Sutherland. I didn't even have to think about who that was. It just kind of hit me in the brain. What's the score now? It's currently 24 points to 10 in favour of Scotland. Now across to the left again, Sione Tuipolotu trying to go through Sonamoni Kata, who is used to making one-on-one tackles from his rugby league days. Now, Rory Sutherland again. That will be the penalty for a little bit of obstruction. I'd like to say thank you for your time. You often when losing out on sleep, says Mr. Rudolph. No worries at all. At the end of the day, I've said it from the start of this competition and we will be saying it to the end. Our goal is to provide coverage for every single game of the Rugby World Cup. So whether it is that game between Portugal and Georgia, which I absolutely butchered 90% of the names, or whether it is the game taking place in the World Cup final, we are going to be here on the channel. We have got a donation from Calmac as well. Scotland get 4 more tries in this half. Says Calmac, thank you very much for your generosity, mate. Hugely appreciated. And you guys on this Rugby World, or even just in general for the Rugby World Cup, have been extremely generous. So I have to say it definitely hasn't gone unnoticed. I always say it, any money made goes straight back into the channel. We're saving up for a chair, saving up for the desk so that I can get one with a little bit more space. Why does this game feel flat, or is it just me, says Flesh? I think it's felt a little bit lopsided at times, might be why you get that feeling. But then at other times there's been like little bursts, hasn't there? But maybe just, there's been a few set pieces. So maybe it's been the flow of the game just hasn't quite hit what we want it to yet. And 9 Roygaard says that Ian Foster, well, definitely either 9 or 21. Finley Christie, I said it at the start of the World Cup. I'll probably keep saying it. That man should be nowhere near the All Blacks jersey for this World Cup squad. And listen, Bok need to pull it together. Otherwise, they'll be on the highway to hell. Says Roof taken quickly there by Scotland. Kick downfield, nicely claimed to the back by Solomoni Kata, who now charges up to the 22, trying to find the gap. He steps through 2, and now dragged down by Sione Tuipolotu. Now back across, Ben Tame-Thune, a massive carry from him. He's over. The big man, you're not going to stop him when he flops down over the try line. What's our subscriber target for tonight? Says Stefan. Oh, it's a good question. I feel like, we've already hit our goals majorly, but if let's say 35,250. It is another 150 away, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do want to hit that subscribe button, it is greatly appreciated. Massive run from Solomoni Kata there. And the Tongans get back into the match just as they get themselves back to 15 men. Hamish, what will you future on YouTube after this World Cup style? So after the World Cup, we've got the URC starting back up. The Gallagher Premiership is also starting at that similar time. We've got the 7 Circuit coming in December. Then the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup, although mainly Champions because they don't show many Challenge Cup games here in New Zealand. Then we go right back round to the Six Nations, Super Rugby, and then also a new rugby games coming out. So we will be covering some information on that. So any internationals, anything that's happening around the world of rugby, we are going to be covering on the channel alongside a few other videos thrown in there as well. Now, William Havili gets that kick over, nicely done by him. And that will now make the score after 45 minutes, 17 points to 24. And Tonga please lose, says Joe Dan. Also have a ton, or half a ton on the hoof, scores a try. Well done, Tonga. Says it was there from Calmac and Tonga capping Scored a nice try there, says Shano. Thank you very much, says Stull. No worries at all. But yeah, just because the World Cup is over doesn't mean we have any less content that will be coming up on the channel. If anything, there's a chance that we may have a bit more with the amount of games that are taking place. Probably less midweek videos in terms of predictions of teams and whatnot, but still the previews and the lineups, everything along those lines. Go boys, get stuck in, says Si. And also we have got another donation from Yvonne. I meant to send this yesterday when Ireland won, but I was recovering from a heart attack. Good work. Says Yvonne, thank you very much. Hugely appreciated for your support on the channel as well. Now rolling this one back here. Crowd, I said there was an eerie silence. And also speaking of sevens, the final Olympic qualification tournament is going to be very interesting. South Africa and GB are in it. And only one gets to qualify, says Geza. Samoa, out of curiosity, Geza, have they made it to the Olympics yet, or are they still in the qualification stage? Do let me know. I felt bad for them because they were ranked, I think it was 6th, and it was the top 5 qualified. But France, they already qualified because they were the home nation. So they actually, they missed out a little bit there. And I'll check these kids. Thank you very much. There was a 4 pass from Scotland, so we'll go out wide. And also we have got their international rugby broadcast fees and share them round best as possible, so good thing. And also a new member on the channel, it is Yvonne as well. Thank you very much. You now have an exclusive emoji on my face looking very confused, which it does often. Qualification stages for Samoa, says Flanders. So only one of Samoa or South Africa can make it through. Is that correct? And welcome Yvonne, says Ian Foster, and Tamifuna made up for his yellow card, says Sione. Well, that was Tamapo who did get yellow carded earlier on in this game. That wasn't forward. Says Scott, I think it did drift forward a little bit in my eyes, but saying that, I do probably need glasses. So, yeah, it's hard to say. You know, I am by no means an expert in forward and backward passes. And sevens is a cheap version of 15, says Trajan. It's a fast-paced, entertaining version of 15s. Like, don't get me wrong, 15's very entertaining as well. But if you like a game that anything can happen throughout that 14 minutes, and then after that happens, you get to see another game and another game and another game, like sevens is the sport for you. But then you can watch both. Like, I feel like there shouldn't be any bad feelings between union and sevens, because at the end of the day, sevens is actually what gets a lot of people into rugby in a few of those smaller countries, and then they build their rugby union side to then maybe one day make it to this Rugby World Cup. We look at Chile. They actually had a couple of their guys from the seven circuit. And Uruguay, the same. Heard that Yvonne was so astounded that Ireland won, she had a heart attack, says Charles. And also we have got the Japan one, Eddie Jones, says Joe D. And also whoever is on here, please hit that subscribe button, people, says Stefania. If anyone hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free as well, I should mention, so you will get notified when we are live streaming. We are doing Tonga's game next week up against South Africa. We're doing Scotland's game up against Romania as well. And definitely forward, almost kicked it into next week, says Brian. And the Oceania tournament hasn't taken place yet. Samoa can qualify and avoid the final tournament, says Geza. Oh, so that'll be Samoa, Tonga. Who else will be in that, actually, now that I think about it? Japan? No, not Japan. Are there any other sides that will be in it other than Samoa and Tonga? Because Fiji already have qualified, haven't they? And sevens is like T20 cricket, a rip-off from the real games situation. But T20 is what gets a lot of people into cricket. And then from there, if you develop the love for it, you then go into watching the test matches, watching the ODI. So it's a good system to be able to get people involved, get people enjoying the sport, to then feed them the other product as well. It's more of it's like an ad for a movie. You know, you watch that ad and you go, yeah, I want to see that movie. So then you go to the movie and you enjoy the movie and then you watch more of the series. Does that make sense? And happy to have Kiwi Lads on my phone while stuck in traffic from the food shop. Thank you and love listening, says Suzanne. Thank you very much. Nice commentary, says Honey. Or Yanni. Sevens is for softies who are scared to get their heads and the tough stuff, says why. I mean, a lot of union players have had a background in sevens. Artie Savia, Rico Ioane, Akira Ioane for the All Blacks, just to name a few for the South Africans. I mean, Sergio Peterson, he was an absolutely phenomenal talent. Or was it Sergio or was it actually, no, sorry, I take that back. It was the other South African winger, the quickest one. It's going to annoy me that I can't think of his name. He's got the dreads. He's really quick. This is going to annoy me, ladies and gentlemen. Do let me know who that player is, but he started in sevens, then went to union. We have got there Samoa will need to qualify in regionals, says the New Age. Didn't Brian Habana also play sevens? Sinatla, that's the one. Thank you, Ian Foster. And JP Pretorius, he's actually a guy who a lot of people feel has a bright future in Union. And also we have got there, sevens is great, says Jeremy Rogers. Cecil Africa, another great sevens player. See, I'm a bit rusty in some of my URC player names, aren't I? I have to get that sorted before we get into the URC soon. There's going to be a couple changes being made for the Scottish. Hugh Jones makes his way onto the field now. I have to say that Tonga at the moment, they aren't looking like a bad side at all out there on the field. They're keeping it close. Now, my original prediction, I think I said Scotland would win this 24 points to 13. So I'm going to be slightly wrong there, but I feel like somewhere around that same margin is what we're going to end up seeing. Yvonne, my dear, cheers. Well, thanks for that. $10. Says Charles there. Semi Radradra. Yep. There's been some beasts who have played sevens, and then that's when they've gotten their opportunity to then go into the union side. Huaka Smith. Very good sevens player. Nas knows his rugby. Not sure what happened there. Says Goldberg. And Jonah and Cullen played sevens also. Very true. Christian Cullen, great sevens player. Jonah Lomu, he ran over all 7 of the opposition at times. So they had to give him 15 players to go against rather than just the 7. Now, Willie Arveli, after the penalty is won by Tonga on the 22-metre line, they will kick this one into touch. And now 5 metres out from the try line, another massive chance. Pierre Scorman now is going to be on the field. That is rather than Rory Sutherland, who I felt actually had a pretty solid performance so far throughout this game. And also it is Sinatla. Says Martin and subs at 35.1 thousand. Keep rolling on, brother, says Red House. So yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are only around that 150 away from the goal thrown over by Tonga. It was not straight, they say, and now the scrum feed will be the way of Scotland. And also Big School chasing that Tongan was funny, says it was Calmac. And also, Hamish, you should make your predictor group game for us all to play together as well, says Stefan. You see, I've never been good at working out how to do like the Super Brew side of things and all those type of ones. I'm also terrible at predictions, so you guys would beat me every day of the week and twice on the weekend when the games are taking place. Okay, there, please send something our way for the JHB area, says Gary, and looks like Nas has captured perhaps Sizobi, and also Scotland wrecking my fantasy picks. What did you pick them to do in this game, Craig, out of curiosity? Was it around that 20-point mark? And who was the only player to play 5 Rugby World Cups from which country, says Chris? 5. How many? No, Sexton hasn't had enough, has he? How many Sexton played? He's played 3 or 4. Alun Wyn Jones would have been a good shout had he been able to play in this one, because he's been around for about 4 decades. Who are the older players around the place? It's going to annoy me that I can't. Was it an old school player or a like current player? Did they play in 2023, Chris? Or did they not? If they didn't, I'm probably not going to be able to guess them. Brian Lima for Samoa, says Michael. Oscar Durant. There's Malcolm there, and who has the ball now and which side is game taking place now. So it is a 5-metre scrum for the Scottish still, and they do get themselves the penalty. Now that's 5 metres out from their own line. Nicky Little for Fiji, and Tonga learned something from the Island game, and I think it's just more getting time under their belt out there on the field. They had 2 warm-up games up against Canada, and don't get me wrong, like, that's all well and good, but they need more time out there. Correct, Michael? So it was, wait a minute, where'd he go? So it was Brian Lima for Samoa, the chiropractor. I'm sure he caused plenty of problems throughout that time for the opposition. Maybe this match will be a draw. It could end up as a draw. We've seen one already throughout this one. I can't see how you could be in 5 World Cups, says Trajan. That's the thing. Like, when you consider that they're 4 years apart, that means he was there for 20 years. So I guess starting when you're like 18, I guess would be the youngest you're allowed to play, and then finishing when you're 38, somewhere around there. South Africa has an uprising around or about the Rugby World Cup not being on TV open free to air. It says it was there for Stull. Come on, Australia, says Eddie Jones. He'll be hoping for a big win later on tonight, that is for sure. Is it still pouring down in New Zealand? Nah, the rain has luckily stopped. It's just over the weekend that we had quite a bit of rain. Stolen there by Tonga, and they will go back now for a knock-on. Knocked forward in the line-out by Tonga, and then now they will go back for another Scottish scrum feed. This game has had quite a few stops along the way, I should mention, so how South Africa chances looking if Scotland don't manage the bonus point in this game, says Tian. I had a hair in my mouth. That was unfortunate. But still looking very good. Like, Scotland's chances of going through to the next stage of this Rugby World Cup are currently sitting around maybe 4% likely. Just with their points differential that they do have to increase as well along the way. Yanni has said, nice commentary, Mr. the Kiwi lad, says Yanni. Thank you very much, mate. Wasn't it the Argentinian dude? Played 5 World Cups, says Charles. And whoever is on here, please do hit the subscribe button, people, says Stefania. Anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are 2 away from 35,100. So if you want to be one of those 2, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Nice flat run from Sione Tuipulotu. So 27 minutes remaining in this one now. It's going to be Finn Russell kicking it in behind. Nicely claimed by Charles Piatau. Piatau, I should say. He does put it high off his left boot. Russell claims. Going to the right-hand side now, the replacements, Darcy Graham and Hugh Jones linking up, but Graham now has the run. Breaking forward quite nicely. Halileva Fafito, I believe, was the man trying to get over that ball, but wasn't able to. Flat pass from Finn Russell. Finds the runner that he was after. Now, nice pass away again to Kinghorn. Quick hands from Jack Dempsey out to Duan Fanamurva. Throws off Solomon Kata. They have had a brilliant one-on-one battle, and Duan still going. Passes on the outside and over the try line for the replacement number 21. It's George Horn, and they will be scoring themselves their 5th try now in the match. But a bit of brilliant work from Finn Russell with the passing. A bit of even better work, some would say, from Duan Fanamurva to break through. 5 World Cups, 16 years, not 20 years, says Akaris. Maths is hard at 6 a.m, I will say that. Yeah, you are right. The 16 is about to rain here, says Fleshin. And also, when was the last time Australia were considered underdogs against Wales, says Cool Story. Bro, I think it would have been a little while. Although saying that, November last year, they may have actually come in as the underdogs. Did they? No, I'm not too sure. Yeah, it was close to a 4 pass from Jack Dempsey. Going out there on the wing for the breakout. The line-out ref was looking down, says the New Age. And also we have got there Mark Wainwright, France going to beat Everton. If we aren't lucky, says Kernovek. But George Horn scores his first try of the Rugby World Cup 2023 competition. And now 29 points to 17. The kick to come from Finn Russell. Close to the touchline, so not the easiest kick that he's had. Maybe the last World Cup, says Geza. In there as well. Is that for... No, not for Brian Lema, is it? And also Gary will play, or will pray to the rain gods here, says Ruth. A good play from Scotland so far, says Stahl. See, they've had their moments. The scoreboard is not updated yet, but it is 31 points to 17 now, ladies and gentlemen. It's Brian Lema who played in the 5 World Cups. Says Kenyon there. And funny to see all 3 major Southern Hemisphere teams lose 1 game in the pools, says Stefan. And also, Kiwi lads, who you prefer, Horn or Mitch Drummond as your halfback? I'd probably go George Horn, to be honest. I don't mind Mitch Drummond. He just annoys me because he's always looking to the ref. He's a little bit similar to Finley Christie. Those boys, they spend more time looking at the ref than the breakdown, and then they lose the ball and go, oh, ref, what happened there? And then the ref actually has to explain it to them because they didn't see it. Now sitting 22 metres out for the line, Horn. Going back across to the right-hand side, Finn Russell puts it up in the air just outside of the 22. This one's coming down, and Kinghorn is the man who claims it nicely. Gives it back across to George Horn, who gives it to Russell, who goes for the kick once more. Does it in behind, looking for the 50-22, but Tamapo is back there. Managed to receive a yellow card earlier on in the game. He's almost taken that one back, so does have to kick it out. It's gone off the side of the boot. And now we'll go like that. Thank you very much, Red Howe. South Africans on this channel after the World Cup. We're going to do a crowdfund thingy to get the Kiwi lads to come visit Josie Teplet to Cape Town. Let's show the guys Bry and Roy Wynn. Says it was there from Red Howe. And come on, Tonga, close to that points gap, or close that point gap, says Sione. He annoys the heck out of me. That's why he isn't in the ABs. Says it was there from Ian. Also, Ireland will play New Zealand in the quarterfinals. It does seem like it's shaping up that way. And brilliant, and I'm English, says Ikaris. And also, Van der Merwe is incredibly strong, says Brian. But yeah, thank you very much for your donation as well, Red Hell. Huge supporter of the channel over this Rugby World Cup. I don't know whether it will be soon that I head to South Africa. I feel like the budget doesn't quite extend just yet. Also, that's a question for all the South Africans viewing. What time of year is the best time to visit South Africa? I like a golf course. I do like a little bit of fishing as well, if that's an option. So, Brian, you want to have it when it's, I guess, a little bit warmer. So, what time of year would be the best time to head to South Africa? Okay, there, I mentioned Australia and New Zealand. South Africa all crashed out in the first round of the Rugby World Cup. They would really throw cat amongst the pigeons. But thankfully, won't happen as a Box fan. We have to defend our crown, says Gary. Go to South Africa in October. Now, says Jacqueline. Well, it might be a bit close. And the scoreboard is stuck. It was, although now I think it's updated itself. Now it's all sorted. December, says Mornay there. In spring, September to November, says Jacqueline. And also a grand idea. How about arranging a group of about 50 regulars on the channel to spend a week travelling together with Hamish, says Gary Smith. Tell you what, it would be an impressive trip, wouldn't it? If that was the case. Now, Sonatane Takalua, man who recently made his way onto the field for the Tongans, coming off the bench to replace Augustine Pulu. Nice run from Fekatoa, one of his first of the match. We have got there, Hamish, how's the new cheer fund going? Says the Karas, we are getting closer to our target. Overall, the big thing's going to be finding a day where I can go and have a look at a few cheers to then be able to purchase one. But, yeah, we're getting close, I think, to being able to get one. Anytime, bro, weather is always good there. Rugby season, says Maxi. And that is going to be another penalty for Tonga this time, in through the side of the breakdown, or in fact, it's for offside. Keep that December. Visit us in South Africa, says Marthinus, on October to April in South Africa is nice weather. And best visit in South Africa is September, says Tibor there. And don't ever come to Dubai, terrible place, unless for a quick 5-day visit, says Peter Wild. See, I think if I was to ever go to Dubai, it would be for the Dubai Sevens. I don't think I'd need to go for really anything else. So I give Kiwi Lad a rugby scholarship to South Africa. He's a classy winger. I mean, I haven't played since I was like 9, so, you know, it might be a bit rough. I think I'll play one game, get like 3 broken bones and have to retire again. Now, Ewan Ashman is going to be coming onto the field for George Turner. WP now, another replacement. That is for Xander Fagerson. I wish he's still sitting on a Tui crate, says David. Not quite, but it feels like one at times. Like, it's solid, and the bottom isn't much cushioned. Like, it's got a cushion on it about that thick, I would say. Now, big run from Solomon Ikata. And also, where's the other Kiwi lad? Says Martin, he is sleeping. Well, all 3 of them are sleeping, to be fair. Now, ball available for Scotland. Once again, another turnover. Now, Russell. Update the scoreboard, mate, says Marius. I can't. This is the score at the moment between the two sides. 31 points to 17. It's only 59 minutes, so if anything, the scoreboard needs to slow down. That's going to be kicked into touch again for Tonga. At the moment, the territory game is definitely going the way of Scotland. Anytime they try and go into that kicking game, Tonga, they do get forced just that little bit further back. Andre Polo will play against Tonga, says Desmond. So question, Desmond, are you playing him at 10 or are you playing him at 12? Do let me know. South Africa is exactly the same as Australia weather-wise, says Albert. Pietau. It's a great kick from Finn Russell. Now Ashman gets that one in straight, nicely slapped back. Although Rory Darge under a lot of pressure from Sonatane Takalua. Breaks through that one tackle, but Halaleva Fafita manages to get him the next time. George Horn goes off to Jack Dempsey. 35 out from the line. Get yourself a bum, says Bruce. Although a bum can only do so much. You know, like you can sit on concrete and it's still going to be hard no matter how big your bottom is. That's a life quote, isn't it? Can see both stadiums, golf course, from here in Durban, says Cool Story Bro. And also Pollard should play at centre, says Desmond. Okay, so you go him at 12. 13, you going with Jesse Creel or you going with Kanan Moody? Out of curiosity. Or are you going Andre Esterhuizen at 13 and Damien... No, not... Yeah, maybe. I don't know. could do, but I think that's a less likely option, isn't it? Raining all day in Durban, says Chris. Can Italy beat the All Blacks? I think from the way that they have played throughout this Rugby World Cup, the Italians will certainly keep it close in that game up against the ABs. The All Blacks can find their right combination, though. They could manage to do relatively decently. We have got there Finn Russell coming into his own with lesser opposition, says Stan there. And New Zealand needs to smash Italy to advance, or France will let them win by a lot. And Scotland won't beat Ireland if they play like this, says Monet Lagrange. Now it's going to be thrown over the top. Nicely claimed at the back by Vailanu. Ref says it's not straight. It actually looked pretty good, mate. I don't think we're going to see a replay of this one. Is it going to be not straight? Oh, maybe debatably, but like we've seen them a lot more sideways than that. Do you have any multi-bets over? It's the only I suck at betting. If I was to put one leg bet on, it would lose. And Hamish, you have winter or summer now? I puzzled over the 1 degree you mentioned. It should be close to climate in South Africa, says Style. So yeah, we're currently 1 degree Celsius. We are coming into summer, but it's still not warm. Like we had a day the other week that was about 17 degrees, and then now it's 1. So it switches up quite a bit at the moment. Scrum feed for Scotland, 40 metres out from their line, 19 minutes remaining in this game. As well, I should mention, and currently possession still in favour of the Scottish with 56%. Sione Tuipolota with the forward pass into the hands of Hugh Jones. You heard that correctly, with the forward pass. Now Finn Russell kicks it up high. Awkward one at the back for Charles Piatel to clean up. Have to look for the touchline, does instead kick it high, and it does go into touch. I thought that he almost went for the up and under there. And Australia bye-bye, says Joe D. Are you a South Islander, Hamish, says Chris? We are indeed. All in the South Island. So everyone very cold at the moment. Morning, Hamish, probably because of injury. Would have loved to see Lamape play for Tonga. Says Laurie, I think it was eligibility. I think he just unluckily missed out. I think he had to be out for a certain amount of time playing for other teams. And he was, I think it was if the World Cup had taken place a few months later, he could play. But because it was a little bit earlier, he wasn't actually able to. Now, Waikato pass from Peraki, knock on out on the wing though. From Charles Piatel, and they will go back for the original knock on from Scotland. Another scrum for Tonga. Morning, Hamish. I know I read that one. We have 33 degrees today in South Africa, so be sure to enjoy the weather while you've got it. I'm hoping that it gets to like 10 degrees today for when we're supposed to be going out on the golf course. What a headphones for, says Brian. They are for being able to hear the TMO and the decisions that the referee makes. So I've got the game on with like very slight volume. When they have the TMO, I'll turn it up just that little bit so I'm able to hear what they're talking about, why something's been ruled as a try or no try. Because, of course, sometimes I will see it as different, so I have to make sure that I'm relaying the message of what they go with. Bring Vermeulen back, Pollard and Moody as a centre pair. I can also play Pollard at fly half and Money Lebok off the bench, says Desmond. And also Irish referee, one man of the match. He's from New Zealand, though, the referee in that game. Now, 40 metres out from the line, Vailanu always looks dangerous with his size and the speed for the big man, 12 degrees in Auckland. Here, bro, says Sai. Also, we got there, Rassi Erasmus tweeted, sorry, South Africa, says Albert. And Navy's been dominating for years. They only slightly off odds that folks think they are without a chance. Very humble nation. Coach is a great dude. The second team after the box says Lightbringer. It's 40 degrees here in South America. Oh, nice run there from Hugh Jones carving through this Tongan defence. Ashman moves up to the 22-metre line. Horn knocks the ball on. And another Tongan scrum. Horny was fiery. He did not like the rolling from Carl Dixon. I'm in Paraguay now, 40 degrees, says John. And what the TMO is alive, says Charles. And open your eyes, Pollard, to kick the drop goals, says Colvin. Open my eyes, Pollard, to kick. Who was saying he wasn't going to be kicking? And also Big Bang Zhang. First good Chinese heavyweight knocked Joyce out second time. Would like to see him against Fury or Usyk, says Trajan there. And also here that Paraguay can get really hot, says Mikhail. Yeah, you certainly got to make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids while you're over there. 65 minutes down, still 14 points difference between these two sides. That last try from Scotland might be that difference maker for them in terms of getting over the try line or getting over the winning line for this game. But I will mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe while we've got this little bit of a stoppage in play. We've got plenty more rugby coming up, including the game taking place that is just around the corner between Wales and also Australia. So if you do want to help us out, hit that subscribe button. Hugely appreciated for this World Cup. I hope Scotland keeps up the pace and pressure right to the end of the game, says Hadrian. And also Roygaard, Ruben Love, Kinina Holo, Peter Umunga, Jensen, Billy Proctor, Salisi Reasi, Geordie Barrett. That is the 2024 backline. I'll watch out other nations, says Ian Foster. Tonga are bad, Scotland aren't much better, says Brian. Coming in with some big positivity to start off the stream, Brian. It's good to see you again. Now, sitting 25 metres out from their line here, Tonga. What do you think about Australia's chances, says John? They do need a bonus point win over Wales to have a good shot. If they don't manage to get that, like a win would be massive for them, of course, because that would close a bit of the gap, but yeah, they'll have to make sure that they're doing big things in that game up against the Welsh to walk away with the victory. Who would you say will score next, says Stefan? The fact that Scotland have now just got themselves the penalty, I would say there's a decent chance for Ewan Ashman to get himself the try off the rolling maul. In fact, they may even look to some of those forwards, like a Rory Darge, someone like that. We have got their drop goals, keep the scoreboard ticking, says Colvin. I mean, the perfect example of that is the English. We saw them in that game up against Argentina. They didn't score a try, but they did manage to win that game, 27 points to 10. Atalia Samoan, South African. Man looks small on TV, but he's jacked. Genuinely a big man, says Ian Foster. Drink beer, plenty of water, and no need to eat. Keeps you in a good mood and in shape, says Thal. But now Ben Tamefuna making his way off the field. That is going to be for Sosefo Apakatoa, Johan Ashman. Now 10 metres out from the line here for Scotland. Rolling maul chance. Hasn't really gone anywhere as of yet, but I do see the replacement 20. It's gone backwards and it's actually popped down the side. Well cleaned up by Jack Dempsey. Keep it on the side of the Scottish. Now George Horn, being told to use it, pops it up to Pierre Scorman. Taken down very quickly by Apakatoa, not allowing those extra metres for the Scottish forwards, although now it's an offside advantage in favour of Scotland. Sione Tuipilotu goes back to Finn Russell. Lobby pass over the top. It's an interception for Salisi Piatau. And they will go back for the original penalty. We have Joe Pikatoa from the Hawke's Bay. Do you think Scotland will get their bonus points, says Bobby? Well, at the moment, they already have secured it. All they need is to win this game and they will walk away with those 5 points. Now Pierre Skurman. Now only 5 metres out from the line. Horn goes back across to Rory Darge. Oh, rush defence there from Tonga. Again, almost got themselves offside. Luckily, just staying on. In that case, now Ewan Ashman and wrestled to the turf once more. The 5 phases in Scotland. In terms of being able to put together phases, they have looked like the strongest side in this game. The counter-attack seems to be that Tonga have got a good chance of being able to get themselves tries. Now Matt Fagerson gets close to the try line once more. Rory Darge almost considered going for it himself. Tuipilotu offloads back to Russell. Kinghorn receives the pass from Russell, and that is the try again. Over there, they need to change players, or the rules for players being eligible to play for their countries. If this rule did not apply, I think there would be more upsets and underdog teams coming up, says Sione. I mean, they've changed the eligibility, though, already. And, I mean, we may see it change in the future even more, but for now, it does seem to be, there's a paper aeroplane that was just drifting across the screen. But, yeah, I think for now, they've found, I guess, the nice middle ground of it. And a replacement did a try, says Jody. Blair Kinghorn, the number 15, managed to get himself the try. And Scotland far too good for Tonga. Tonga, all heart, no smarts. Says Ian Foster, although they've shown some good rugby brains in this game. The likes of Ben Tamefuna, I felt like he was very strong when he was on the field. Being taken off now for Apakatoa. Scotland now move up to 36 points on the board. A nice try, says Brian. Good Scotland looking okay. I hope they beat Ireland, says Cool Story Bro. And also, how's it, Hamish? I'm late, says David. No worries at all. It is great to have you here But the stream doing very well, somehow still have a voice, which I think is very lucky with the amount of talking we have done throughout this week, as well as the recent 3 weeks of the Rugby World Cup. It's actually incredible to think that after this next game between Wales and Australia, we are halfway through this Rugby World Cup already. And it's only been 3 weeks. Of course, we have got a few more games just around the corner. We are doing all of the games next weekend. Big games for these two sides, Scotland versus Romania. South Africa, they will be taking on the Tongans. And Wales, Scotland is playing very well indeed. Tonga not too bad either, says Stull there. And Up the Lads says, Nate, and Rivkata can't argue with that. I binned my Speedo in like 2010. Now, nice break and run from Duan van der Merwe. He ain't passing. He hasn't even looked once to his teammates. Duan, now he considers the pass and he does sling it away. Finds the hand of Hugh Jones. Counter-attack, but the ball has been knocked on by Scotland inside of the Tongan 22. As the killer good-looking commentator with a great sense of humour, Kiwi Lads rocks, says Ruth there. You're too kind, Ruth. Very, very nice to us, aren't you? And Kane sucks, says Trajan. I assume you're talking Sam Kane, aren't you? In this one. Up against the Italians next week. We are going to have our All Blacks prediction video coming out in the near future on the channel, ladies and gentlemen, as well. And far out Scotland are selfish. Yeah, Duan wanted to get all the way, but then to his credit, in the end he did pass. And then I guess from there was a little bit of a mistake. Still need a bloody shave, Amos says Stefan. I had one near the start of the World Cup. So I guess that's kind of good in a way that the beard is almost growing a bit quicker, but yeah, gets a bit rough. It doesn't grow right. As you can see, it's not like, doesn't grow as a beard, just grows as hair. George's comments always, my beard looks like, can I say, I guess I could say, I'll say around the lines of, he says it looks like what people have downstairs, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying there? Now, big run forward from Vailanu, driving all the way from about 5 metres out from the line to 22 metres out. You sold your tie, Amish says Stull. I have not sold my tie, no, it is just over there. Oh, we have got there, your beard is like mine, called it Apache style, says Stefan. And also, Jinx South Africa, you're dumb meant to say not being able to play for their country, says Sione. And also, no, sorry, can you explain more, says Yvonne. Your bottom half wig, does that help? No, maybe not. That's a kick forward that just goes dead. And if Kane is the best at 7 in New Zealand, we are in trouble. Says Trajan, eligibility rule should be 10 years. That's how you make sure people learn their rugby in the country they want to play for, says LB. I feel so sorry for your vocal cords. You speak non-stop. Nothing wrong with silence between action on the field, says Naomi. I'm joking, says Yvonne. That's all right. So was I, of course, about the pants wig thing. Van der Merwe must be a reminder to pass, says Grant. Gooch, says Trevor. That's a fun word, isn't it? That was actually the last name of a set of twins at our school. They got a little bit of stick at times, I think. We have got there, can Scotland score again, says Andreas. I'm a Richie McCaw fan too. Tough enough, says Ruth. But yeah, I think Scotland have got another try up their sleeve. Tonga, to be honest, don't look too far off being able to get themselves a try in this game as well for the later stages of the contest. Still 8 minutes remaining on the clock. Like I mentioned, the next game that we are covering, it is Wales versus Australia. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You will then be notified for when we do start that live stream. But 2 tries at the moment for Tonga. They would need 2 more to be able to get themselves that bonus point. Richie Gray, age 34, is on fire, says Joe D. Peach Fuzz, says Bruce, and also Bumfluff. Says, oh, there's a few more ways of putting it. And need a Polynesian to play for South Africa and Argentina, says Laurie, and I love your tie. Happy to know you held on to it for the finals, I hope, says Stull. Yeah, that tie, I'm not giving it away at this stage that I know of. Although it would have actually suited this match, of course, with the Scottish colours. Looks like George Horn trying to take this one relatively quickly, and they have been marched forward 10 metres. Tries to take the tap, but wasn't on the mark once more, George Horn. It's going to be the scrum from 22 out. And Australia, New Zealand and South Africa are best friends, the cool kids. I love the Aussies, but I need Fiji to go through. Fiji are my second team, says Amy. But yeah, you'll be certainly... Well, it's an intriguing one, isn't it? Because theoretically, Fiji and Wales or Fiji and Australia could both go through. So there is a little bit of a chance, I would say, that we could see 2 Southern Hemisphere sides through, but then there's also a chance that Wales win that next game and stay at the top, and then they won't be going anywhere from there. Afterwards, we have got there the 4 passes in last night's game between the Broncos and the Warriors. Quality refs in the NRL. I tell you, I saw one of them that was like 4 metres forward, and they were like, yeah, we'll just go with it. Now Sione Tuipulotu. Offloaded backwards, Finn Russell. Nice pass to Kinghorn, who backs himself to go over. No, he's not quite there. Should have passed to Graham. Now around the side of the breakdown, someone who knows a thing or two about should have passing. It's Duan Fundermerva. He's held up, and it's going to be the goal line dropout. Score is 38 points to 17, says Albert. And also, World Rugby need to invest more in Africa. Kenya and Uganda have decent leagues, says LB. And yeah, we normally see it in the 7 side of things. Like Uganda look like a very good side throughout their 7s games that we saw. Yeah, Dylan Fundermerva trying to go around the side of the breakdown into a sea of red. And just didn't quite get over the line. And Rwanda, says Chris there. And I'm backing Fiji to go through. And I have Wales winning 22 points to 19. And why if you don't give the ball to Gray, says Jody. Although in that case, yeah, Darcy Graham would have been the option on the outside that they could have gone to, and it probably would have been a run-and try. Kinghorn thought he was in with a good crack of making his way through. Now Sione Tuipulotu tackled 40 metres out from the Tongan line. Placed the ball on him, says Carl Dixon, so no penalty in that breakdown. We have got their chat about where the ball is, mate. I think that is from Brandon. Still 45 out. Jack Dempsey. New advantage against Tonga. George Horn. Pop pass up there. Finn Russell goes to Kinghorn this time. Surely he's going to pass it. No, he's just running Kinghorn. Gets nailed in the shot by Fekatoa. It may have been high, so they may have to check that one now. Another offload from WP now goes backwards to Jack Dempsey. And so if Fiji win their 2 remaining games with the bonus point they are in, they should be, theoretically, yes. As long as points differential is also in their favour, I think is the other factor that could come into it for their game. Getting a bonus point up against Georgia might be, well, to be fair, actually getting a bonus point against both of those sides in Georgia and Portugal could be challenging with the way that they both played up against each other, but they will need 4 tries. It's the reference fault, says Elbiot. Now, going to be inside ball from Blair Kinghorn. Darcy Graham gets one of his first carries since making his way onto the field. Ewan Ashman now. Big shot on him by Halaleva Fafita. I hope for a win tonight for the Wales game against Australia, says Gianpaolo. And also who will win the game next, the Aussies or the Welsh? I think I went 20 or 32 points to 28 in favour of Wales, I think was my prediction initially. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Australia do get over the line. I feel like this is the game that if there was ever a time to dig deep and show what they can do, it is right now. I said on the guy without the ball, says the new age. Duan Fundermerva, 10 carries, 144 metres made, tackle breaks 14. Scored himself the 1 try so far. Imagine how strong a Kenyan team could be in rugby. The huge and athletic people. We have got there should have a cricket powerhouse by now, but the ICC neglects them, so they fade away, says John. And hey man, Hamish, very cool channel vibe, brother, nice. Ruth Carter and Trajan are my new friends. I'm going to light a fire to get ready for Eddie's fight for survival, says Red there. And how are you, Hamish? Go the Scott, says David. Doing very well, mate. Hope you are also doing very well also. I said also about 4 times in that sense. Vailanu, oh, a bit of skill there. Actually caught the ball almost behind his head, then knocked it on. But then caught it, I should say. Now, Piraki gets it off to Tamapo, who wrestles through the tackle of Darcy Graham, but a majority of the second half has been played inside of the 22 of the Tongans, so it's just made it extremely tricky for them to get out, and now it is going to be another... What's happened here? We've got a stoppage, triple blow of the whistle. I think there might have been a neck roll on Finn Russell, was there? Okay, they want to check the clear out on Finn Russell. It's by, I believe, Tamapo, who's already a yellow card, so if he gives away something silly here, that would be very, very dumb. We have got Elliot, as said, sorry, ref's fault. We seem to play with them for everything, says Elliot. Only 38, so sad, says Joe D. Finn Russell, he's back up, so that is the good news. Direct head contact by 8. It's via Fafita. Cheap shot coming into the breakdown. That's a red card. See you later, Via. And it's a shame for Tonga because he was one of their better players, but there was no need for it. Finn Russell was already falling backwards. And it's going to be a yellow card. Possibility of the red. Is there a possibility of South Africa not going through? Only if Scotland can win both of their last 2 games with bonus points. And then South Africa, I believe, would have to win their last game up against the Tongans without a bonus point. Or points differential. But the likeliness of South Africans going through is very high at the moment. And 700 plus people, I appreciate you, Hamish. And Kiwi Lads, no paid TV, says Laurie, and should be a red, says David. Yeah, I believe it will be upgraded to a red card. And via Fafita making his way off the field. Bit of a brain fade there. Now, it's going to be 3 minutes remaining in this contest, though, so they will have another chance to extend their scoreboard for the Scottish. The interesting thing here is if we look at the score between Ireland and Tonga, we did still see the Tongans score themselves a few tries in that game. Score themselves a few points in that game with the 16 to the 59. Currently in this game, it is 17 to 38. If Scotland score right now, they still have time to be able to get maybe one more afterwards. Could be a relatively similar scoreline. We have got there Scotland going to score, boys. Says Trevor. Big chance here. Now nicely taken in the line out. Trying to roll forward, although at this stage they are rolling backwards. They forgot to put it into drive rather than reverse. Is the ref spanking that player? I don't know if he was spanking him or touching him or what, but it looked very close to it. That ball has popped out the back, and I think that's going to be now a 5-metre scrum for the Tongans due to a knock-on the ground from Scotland. In fact, no, it's going to be taken back by Tonga, they say, and it is now going to be a Scottish scrum. Tonga need a cool head in their team like Fergus Burke, calming influence, says Ian Foster, and also no time for dirty play, and even though the Box have the same points as Scotland, the head-to-head means Box go through, says LB, although they look at points differential first, don't they, LB, or am I wrong in that? Does points differential and then the head-to-head? And guys, you are the best from Scotland, greetings from Scotland, or from Serbia, says Grodana, welcome in. You are doing extremely well. As always, great commentary, Hamish. I love the way you interact with all your viewers, says Stull. Time remaining 2 minutes on the clock now for the end of this one. Brain fade or brain fart, bit of both. I would say Kevin in this case for via Fafita. Let me remember the fantastic yesterday, Ireland. I went against South Africa. I'm still enjoying it, says Gianpaolo. 2 metres out from the line at the time that the scrum's gone down. In fact, Tonga end up with the penalty. And then Vailanu pushes Horn off the ball. And then he gives him a little hug as well. Tries to apologise for it. Matt Fagerson having a big smile. And Hamish is the calming influence for me when I'm in the red, says Ian Foster. It's going to be kicked into touch. Tonga, they can't quite get themselves a bonus point in this game, even if they score now. All part of the plan, baby, all part of the plan, says Grant. No, none of the Scottish players look particularly happy at the moment, I will mention. The coach looked disappointed. I think that was Jamie Ritchie, had a bucket hat on. He didn't look happy. White horse. Okay. And I was like, Kevin, I think Rassi has brain cell, disco lights, signalling syndrome. Says it was there from Roof and Vailanu. I look double the size of Horn. And I was like, Tonga have been disappointing this World Cup. The Scottish side won't beat Ireland. Says Brian. Have you got, if you had to pick one positive to say about both of these sides, Brian, seeing as you do enjoy the negativity, what would you say about these two sides? What have you enjoyed watching of them throughout this World Cup? You know, is there anything that you can think of that you're willing to admit that not everything's doom and gloom? Great commentary, Matt from Italy, thanks, says Matthew, and we will be covering that All Blacks versus Italy game next week on the channel alongside every game of the Rugby World Cup remaining, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Time remaining, boys. Now it's gone from 2 minutes to no minutes on the board currently. As soon as this ball goes out, it will be the end of the game. We have got a donation from Jonathan. Thank you very much, mate. If Scots win over Romania by 65 plus, they might have a faint chance in the points differential, but Scotland tend to make things difficult. They expected to win by a large margin, says Jonathan. Van has to be the most overrated player ever, says WB. Brian's beer is warm. It does seem that way, yes. Hamish makes it fun for the losing fans as well, says cool story, bro. A nice bowler, Haggis. Nice point for the Scots tonight. Well done, lads. You have done it, says David, and they might do it once more. Trying to cross the try line here in the final moments of the contest. Nice low tackle made on Jack Dempsey. And the penalty goes the way of Tonga. And they're going to be March 10 because George Horn opened his mouth. Okay, they've still got time for the line out. And let's go, says Trevor. Hands in the ruck by Tonga. Ref, get it right, says Scott. And also see you later, says School Story. And I will say for Scotland, Ireland are not taking a win for granted. Ireland respect Scotland. And Brian the Optimist, says Nicholas, in there as well. George Horn in the red, says Ian. And it's not just talking about the rosy-faced cheeks of Horn at the moment. Now, line out throw for Sam Molly. Why wouldn't South Africa want to play ABs in the quarters when they smashed them in the warm-up, says Sai. I feel like everyone's waiting for that big All Blacks performance, aren't they? And they're still yet to see it. Looks like they are going to be trying to run this one rather than putting it into touch. Scotland, Finn Russell knocks it backwards. Now slinging it across to Sione, Tui Palotu. And Ireland will win over Scotland by 30 plus, says Jonathan. And Andy Farrell will be not looking past Scotland. That is for certain. Now Darcy Graham's through once again, going by himself. He will have the toe this time. Scores the try and adds a few more points into the Irish scoreboard. And Dat Mouth says, scrum, let's congrats to the Scots. Unlucky our Tongan brothers. Regroup, run it back, says Flanders. And there as well. And good chat, says Craig. And you can't help, or you can't keep Howick boys down, says rotating cow. And well done, Scotland, says Kevin. And thanks, proof to you both sides. My family and my mother's family's Welsh. Our land of the fathers, says Ruth. Now, Darcy Graham, that will make it 43. Should be a relatively easy kick as well, so I would like to think that the score is about to upgrade itself to 45 on the board for Scotland. Points differential sit in 28 in this game, so not too shabby. And get on them, increase the points difference, their chances going out to the semi-final, says Ian Foster. And thanks so much once again, says Stuart. No worries at all. So the next live stream that we have got on the channel, ladies and gentlemen, will be Australia versus Wales. That is taking place just around the corner. That kick is successful from Finn Russell. End score 45 points to 17. We'll have to wait and see how that does progress this group, because it is going to be a relatively close one by the looks of it with the finish. Definitely with Scotland getting themselves the points next week up against Romania if they walk away with that victory. Thanks for your work, Hamish. A big love to all. See you in the next match. Roll those likes and subscribe, says Mikhail. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. A white horse or red lion? One's more likely, isn't it? You see a lot more white horses than you see red lions around the place. Ginger lions, though, there's a few of them about. Congrats to Scotland, very well played. Can New Zealand beat Ireland? Can have to play very well and a lot better than they have been if they want to get the victory in that game. That is for sure. See you soon, Hamish. Hamish, says Brian. And also no party, no Scotland. Says Darren. And just about to board my flight here, so I'll miss Wales and Australia. Take care, everyone. Fly safe. Yes, so hopefully you get to your destination relatively speedily. And I was very good there. Thanks for your supreme commentary, Hamish, says Ruth. And also New Zealand will put 30 points on Ireland easily, says Ian Foster. I don't know what games you've been watching, Ian, but I don't think so at the moment. It's going to be probably one of those games that could go down to the wire as well, which will be very entertaining. But yeah, like I mentioned, next game, Australia versus Wales. We are starting that live stream in 45 minutes time. So if you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all for the next one.